Chapter 1169. When Lin Yuan sensed that Yin Hua's spiritual power was rapidly depleting, he sighed. Yin Hua's desire to win is so strong. Lin Yuan had originally wanted to test the Sea of Flowers' recovery ability, but Silver Splendor had clashed with the spiky beetle. Although the level 3 spiky beetle's intelligence was not high, it was not a complete fool. After struggling for a while, the spiky beetle found a way to break the stalemate. The spiky beetle turned sideways and tore off the 3 7-colored lotuses that were wrapped around the black thorns. The stem of the rainbow lotus had a very strong elasticity. The force that broke the spiky beetle suddenly loosened. Half of the spiky beetle's body suddenly stood up. At this moment, a large number of bone lotuses grew vigorously from the spiky beetle's body. In the blink of an eye, it had reached a height of 3 to 4 meters. Lin Yuan looked at the changes in the Sea of Flowers through the white bone fog and knew that Silver Flower had switched from burial pattern mode to nurturing pattern mode again. The newborn bone lotus flower underwent a high-intensity hardening under the tattoo nurturing mode. The layers of bone lotuses pushed hard, and the spiky beetle was flipped over. The spikes on the beetle's back pierced into the ground, making it difficult for the beetle to turn its body, no matter how hard it tried. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan gave Silver Flower's plan a thumbs up. Seeing that the rune nurturing mode worked, he flipped the spiky beetle's body over. Yin Hua then switched from nurturing rune mode to burial rune mode. While continuing to spawn bone lotuses to repair the Sea of Flowers destroyed by the spiky beetles, he also gave orders to the various bone worms in the Sea of Bone Lotuses. The bone worms in the Sea of Flowers immediately rushed to the spiky beetle. Without the bone worm to clean up the alien insect corpses, the insect mountains in the Sea of Flowers piled up again. Lin Yuan watched as the black spiky beetle was instantly covered by tiny white objects and turned pure white. After the bone worms covered the spiky beetle's body, the spiky beetle struggled crazily. As it struggled, it let out painful cries from time to time. The bone worm was small in size, and when the spiky beetle turned its body over, a small gap would appear on its back. The bone worm could drill into the gaps of the spiky beetle's outer armor. As a level 3 alien insect, the spiky beetle's outer armor was hard. The bone worm, which had not consumed much life force, could not chew through the shell of the spiky beetle. Although the spiky beetle also had soft armor inside its carapace, this layer of soft armor could not prevent the bone worms from gnawing. Amidst the sorrowful cries of the spiky beetle, the beetle was chewed into an empty shell by the bone worm at a speed visible to the naked eye. After devouring the beetle's flesh, the bone worm returned to its previous position. The corpses piled up like a mountain in just half a minute. For now, the bone worms could not eat the outer shell of the spiky beetle, so it was dragged to a corner of the Sea of Flowers by the bone lotus. The Sea of Bone Lotuses left an empty space in the corner. In Lin Yuan's opinion, this empty space was like Silver Splendor's small treasure vault. At that moment, Silver Flower flew out of the Bone Lotus Flower's Sea of Flowers and flew in front of Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, isn't Silver Flower awesome? Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan rubbed Silver Flower's face with the pad of his finger and said, "That's right. Yin Hua, you really gave me a pleasant surprise." The battle just now began when Silver Flower spawned a large number of bone lotuses to turn the spiky beetle's body over. Lin Yuan thoroughly witnessed the speed at which Silver Flower spawned bone lotuses to replenish the Sea of Flowers. Lin Yuan also had a good idea of the Sea of Bone Lotus's recovery ability. Silver Flower was still too weak now, and the Sea of Bone Lotuses had just formed. Even the hermit dead servants had not appeared, so how could it be strong? When Silver Flower became a fantasy breed, a few more hermit dead servants would be cultivated in the Sea of Flowers. For the people living here, this forest was enough to be called a forbidden area that could not be set foot in. However, if he wanted this forbidden area to become famous and attract the real experts of the Divine Wood Federation to come and take risks, Lin Yuan needed to think of some other ways. From the moment Lin Yuan summoned Silver Flower, the insect queen had been shivering in Lu Jie's arms. Only its small head was exposed, and it timidly looked at Silver Flower. The pressure of the bloodline made the insect queen not dare to be presumptuous, flying in front of Lu Jia as usual. Lu Jia could not help but marvel in his heart while comforting the insect queen. After Lu Jia contracted the insect queen, he could not contract other phase or source-type life forms. Later, he contracted the source-type cocoon of evolution because the cocoon of evolution was essentially parasitizing the insect queen. It was equivalent to the insect queen contracting the cocoon of evolution, which had nothing to do with Lu Jia. Therefore, Lu Jia would look up information about fairy source-type lifeforms whenever he had time and had a very good understanding of them. He knew that the fairy source-type lifeform with the highest bloodline was a six-winged fairy that had grown its third pair of wings when it became a myth breed. Lu Jia's insect queen was originally a four-winged fairy. After the insect queen mutated, it already had the capital to become a six-winged fairy. This had been confirmed by his master, Night Leaning Moon. However, Lu Jia was not sure when the insect queen would transform into a six-winged fairy. Lu Jia had always thought that his insect queen would be the first to break the fairy source-type lifeform record. But now, Lin Yuan had casually summoned a six-winged fairy. Moreover, this six-winged fairy's grade was shocking as it was only at bronze. Lu Jia felt that this world was simply too mysterious. Silver flower was a miracle that broke history and common sense. This miracle was created by Lin Yuan. Lu Jia often browsed forums and posts related to fairies. There were all sorts of discussions about fairy source-type lifeforms in the threads and forums, and many of them were completely irrelevant. However, Lu Jia felt that if he posted what he saw on the forum or in the forum, he would be able to get a lot of attention. It was very likely that he would be treated as a mental patient by the netizens and scolded into a sieve. Lin Yuan looked at Yin Hua, who was blushing suspiciously after being praised by him. Yin Hua, with your current strength, can you withstand another dimensional rift? Hearing this, Yin Hua hurriedly shook her head and said, Lin Yuan, I've already reached my limit by spawning such a sea of flowers. If I expand it further, my control over the sea of flowers at the edge will weaken. The sea of flowers can't be nurtured just because you have spiritual energy. The bone worm consumes the flesh mountain, and the bone lotus consumes the soul. Although it's an instinctive reaction, I still need to command and deploy them. Given my current strength, opening another dimensional rift is simply too difficult. When my strength increases to bronze V/flawless, the sea of flowers will be twice as large as it is now. At that time, I'll be able to handle another dimensional rift. Upon hearing this, Lin Yuan dispelled the idea of using 2.5 kilograms of void-shattering rocks to open another dimensional rift. End of this chapter. Chapter 1170. It wasn't a good thing to spoil things through excessive enthusiasm. While Silver Flower was playing with Lin Yuan, she saw the insect queen in Lu Jia's embrace. Silver Flower flapped her 3 pairs of wings and flew toward the insect queen. Silver Flower took the initiative to befriend the insect queen, and they quickly became friends. Silver Flower invited the insect queen to play in the sea of white bone lotus flowers. Seeing that his insect queen and Silver Flower were getting along well, Lu Jia revealed a smile. Hee, I have such a good relationship with Lin Yuan. My Fae and Lin Yuan's Fae are also so close. I'm so satisfied. Suddenly, Lu Jia's eyes focused, and he walked in front of Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, the Dry Cliff Bandit King team can't wait any longer. Half an hour ago, the phone you gave me rang 3 or 4 times. The Dry Cliff Bandit King team is starting to move out. Lin Yuan took out the phone that he had placed in the amber button-shaped Fae storage box. He saw that there were 5 or 6 missed calls on the phone that he had snatched from one of the 5. Lin Yuan raised his brows and looked toward the distant east. The sun was high in the sky, and the Rotten armored army was advancing unsteadily in the forest. A yellow-brown elephant species Fae kept using its trunk to pull out small trees and put them in its mouth to chew. After chewing twice, it seemed to feel that the small trees didn't taste good. It disdainfully spat out the sawdust in its mouth onto the forest ground. 2 pure white tusks waved from time to time, leaving a half-meter deep gash on the trunk of a giant tree in the forest. "I owe you so much." The yellow-brown elephant species Fae had a tent on its back that could block the glaring sunlight in the forest. It could also effectively block the leaves, branches, and fruits that fell from the sky in the forest. A woman wearing a silk gown was sitting inside the tent. The woman's silk gown was painted with all kinds of flowers, and the flowers were decorated with vine leaves. The excessive decorations made the silk gown, which was of good quality, look a little tacky. It had lost the original lightness of the silk gown. The silk gown was wrapped with a purple fur cloak. The animal fur on the cloak was very long, but the edges of the cloak were not smooth. Many of the fur on the edges were tangled together. It was obvious that this cloak had been made for a long time. After a long period of exposure to the wind and sun, the fur on the edge of the cloak had already lost its oil. In the Divine Wood Federation, clothing was very particular. Clothing often symbolized a person's status. The clothes worn by ordinary people were made of coarse hemp silk drawn from plants. On the other hand, some servants, or people who couldn't even live on, could not even wear sackcloth. They could only wear clothes made of plant branches. Not only were these clothes made from tattered branches and leaves prickly, but they would also fall apart in a few days. He had to weave it himself again, which was very troublesome. After all, the Divine Wood Federation had the most plant phase. The Divine Wood Federation's power structure was the same as that of the Iron Hammer Federation. Creation Masters could establish clans of different classes according to their occupation rank. Family members established by Creation Masters had always been called nobles in the Divine Wood Federation. These people were more particular about their clothes. While the Divine Wood Federation was rich in plant species phase, it also had abundant insect species phase. The nobles preferred to wear spirit chi clothing that was weaved from insect species phase. They would also carve complicated decorations on the plain silk clothing. Apart from silk clothing, the most sought after by the nobles were fur-type spirit chi clothing. Beast species phase were very rare in the Divine Wood Federation, and every noble was proud of having a good leather fur-type spirit chi clothing. While the woman in the tent sat down, she deliberately put the fur cloak to the side. She was afraid that it would press down on the fur cloak, making the fur cloak not as upright and fluffy as before. Apart from the clothing, the woman had average looks. However, she had heavy makeup on her face. It made the woman's arrogance that had nowhere else to exude be tainted with a trace of worldly aura. At that moment, the woman gritted her teeth. While looking at the road ahead, she snorted coldly. "It's best if something happened to the 5 of you and were eaten by the wild beasts in the forest. If the 5 of you dare to come back, wait to be whipped into meat paste by the vines." Just when the woman was bored to death, she heard a feminine yet resonant voice shout from below. "Miss Luoya, the banana wood elephant has been hungry all the way. It's time to feed it something. If we don't feed the banana tree elephant now, it will be so hungry that it might go crazy when it sees a fruit tree." Roha waved her hand and summoned a huge yellow moth. This moth had a wingspan of 2 meters, but its body was very bloated. There were no patterns on the wings, but they were covered in fine powder. As a result, this butterfly species Fae did not have a trace of beauty and was even a little disgusting. Luoya jumped onto the moth Fae and let it carry her to the ground. Roha frowned and said to the tall long-haired man in front of her, "Fu Di, I fed this banana tree elephant some spirit liquid that I got from my father. It has a chance to break through to the gold rank in a short time. When you feed it later, feed the banana wood elephant more nutritious food." The long-haired man, Fu Di, was the leader of the Withered Cliff Bandit King group. He was also Luoya's loyal bootlicker. After establishing a relationship with Luoya, he coaxed her into becoming the vice-captain of the Withered Cliff Bandit King group. He had made use of Luoya's relationship to obtain plenty of Creation Master resources. The banana wood elephant was not Luoya's Fae, but the property of the Withered Cliff Bandit King group. It was a great thing for the entire Withered Cliff Bandit King group that the banana wood elephant had reached the gold rank. Fu Di was abnormally surprised, so he habitually licked Luoya's bootlicker. Young Lady Luoya, wait until we find the Deep Burn Federation's caravan. I will get my brothers to kill the ugly ones and the old ones. Detain all the handsome young ones for Miss Luoya. Luoya replied indifferently. A small caravan that travels all over the world to trade for resources. They must be exposed to the elements. What good goods can they have? Thinking about this, Luoya felt that this operation had become boring. Luoya had poured in Creation Master resources for the Withered Cliff Bandit King group to become stronger, but it was not for these 300 bootlickers. With Luoya's Class 2 family background, she was definitely a noble lady in her small city. Back then, Luoya had been persuaded by Fu Di to become the vice-captain of the Withered Cliff Bandit King group because Fu Di had promised to find good goods for her. However, as Luoya played more, her standards were getting higher and higher. A few years ago, she felt that they were good goods, but now, they could no longer enter her eyes. This made Luoya abnormally vexed. Just as Luoya was inspecting the surroundings, she suddenly saw a figure rushing towards the Withered Cliff Bandit King group. End of chapter. Chapter 1171. A cool breeze blew, the sea was calm. The sunlight shone on the surface of the sea, making the sea look like a piece of golden jade. The gold on the surface of the sea and the blue under the sea blended together, forming a rippling warm green. Together with the coconut trees and the freely flying seabirds on the shore, it was as if this scene was made for romance. Suddenly, the wind started blowing. The sea breeze caused the originally calm sea to ripple with clear and crystalline waves. The waves were like silk dancing in the wind, layer after layer wrapping the golden jade-like surface of the sea. A wave of fragrance blossomed on the sea. The moment this fragrance appeared, it sealed off the coast of the island. After the fragrance sealed off the island, lotus leaves grew one after another on the surface of the sea. The lotus leaves connected the sky, instantly covering the entire sea. It completely separated the island from the world, as if everything on the island had nothing to do with the world anymore. The moment the lotus leaves sealed off the island, a shout came from the island. Who are you? Who dares to act so wantonly on this land? The moment the words were spoken, 5 figures appeared in the sky above the island. There were men and women among the 5, all with different postures. One of the experts in the lead had an aura of eternal immortality on his body. The 5 experts released their aura at the same time, the overflowing pressure caused the entire island to shake. The seabirds flying freely above the island were directly blown into pieces by this monstrous pressure. 3 of the experts even waved their hands to summon their spirit creatures. After these spirit creatures were summoned, the pressure above the island became even denser. Suddenly, a light laugh came from within the fragrance. Hee hee. This should be the 3rd pagoda cannon lair on the way. The moment the light laugh came out, the experts above the island with undying aura acted as if they were facing a great enemy. They released their pressure and frantically swept the sea, as if trying to find the location of the person who just made the sound. However, after searching for a while, they still couldn't find anything, causing the experts above the island to shiver. At this time, a girl with waist-length blue hair quietly descended on the largest lotus leaf on the sea. The fragrance fills the air, the makeup reflects the light red. The singing is from the sky, the dance is from the royal palace. Different from the experts above the island who were on guard, the girl on the lotus leaf was very relaxed. There was even a hint of laziness in his expression. The woman's exquisite face had a pair of almond-shaped eyes that could be said to be peerless. The corners of her almond-shaped eyes were slightly raised, and the upward curve made the woman's eyes seem to be blooming with the softest of lotuses. This pair of phoenix eyes with a flirtatious arc appeared on the blue-haired waist-length woman's body, making the blue-haired waist-length woman's natural charm. However, the woman's sharp brows suppressed this charm. The charm of the woman's eyes clashed with the sharpness of her eyebrows, and the extreme feminine and masculine characteristics appeared on her face. It gave this face an extremely neutral beauty. Meanwhile, the woman's cherry lips and fine nose embellished the extreme androgynous beauty, brewing a quality that was even more charming. At this moment, the woman narrowed her eyes and looked at the experts of the Sky Tower cannon on the island. Oh, there's actually an undying pagoda cannon. The strength of this nest is not bad. How lucky. The woman's words were filled with undisguised killing intent. The woman with waist-length blue hair suddenly appeared. However, after the woman appeared, the four seas calmed down, as if the entire ocean region had found its backbone. Following which, the water in the sea wantonly cheered, celebrating the arrival of the waist-length blue hair woman. The celebratory waves under the heaven-reaching lotus leaf collided and blended with each other, playing a water movement that could be said to be the sound of nature. The woman waved her hand lightly, and that hint of laziness disappeared from her expression. An aura that could command the world shot out from the woman's body. With a wave of her hand, the calm sea surface split into 8 with the woman as the center. 8 water pillars gathered the water of the four seas and rose up, forming a platform under the woman's feet. The waist-length blue hair woman sat on the platform of the four seas, like a lotus blooming in the ocean. Looking at the celebratory platform that the seawater had built for the woman, the only female expert in the sky above the island said in surprise. Able to make the ocean region feel close to her, willing to obey her orders. This ability to communicate with nature, the spirit of heaven's favor. It's actually someone from Heaven-Blessed Dojo. At the mention of Heaven-Blessed Dojo, the experts of the pagoda cannon on the island felt a bit more at ease. The female expert of the pagoda cannon took a step forward and shouted at the blue lotus in the sea. What does your Heaven-Blessed Dojo mean by this? Since when did Heaven-Blessed Dojo dare to cause trouble for the pagoda cannon? As soon as the female expert finished speaking, a phoenix cry that made the night fall resounded. The sun hanging high in the sky was still there, but the boundless darkness had completely enveloped the island. The extreme darkness prevented even a trace of the sun's radiance from shining on the island. Above the dome, a sturdy man wearing a black fishnet robe was looking disdainfully at the island under the night sky. Immediately after, the sturdy man's figure flashed, and a woman's mournful scream resounded in the sky above the island. At this moment, an extremely angry shout resounded from inside the island. Heaven-Blessed Dojo dares to kill the Crimson Tower's chanter, how dare you? Today, all of you will stay here. Burn to death, scorching world dragon. Immortal body, activate. A scorching and dazzling aura blossomed in the sky above the island, and in the blink of an eye, a world that resembled a lava hell was opened. In this world, there were 8 volcanoes that were spewing scorching lava. In the crater of the volcanoes, there were 8 creation earth veins that resembled dragons and snakes. After the scorching world serpent opened up the infernal lava world, the dark night was excluded from the island. At the same time, the waters of the four seas began to boil in an instant. In the center of the flame world, a man with a square face and a dignified expression suddenly transformed into a red-scaled dragon that was nearly a kilometer long with obvious insect-like characteristics. A deafening dragon roar resounded in the sky. Immediately after, the 8 creation earth veins in the lava hell world's volcanoes merged into one and shot into the scorching world dragon's body. The scorching world dragon once again transformed into human form. This time, the scorching world dragon's human form was not a normal human form. The scorching world dragon's human form still retained 5 distinct Fey characteristics. 2 horns, a pair of dragon wings, a pair of dragon claws, a pair of dragon feet, and a mouth of dragon teeth. The scorching world dragon wore red armor and wielded a dragon bone spear. A playful smile appeared on Bai Feng's face when she saw the scorching world dragon. Amazing, he. The immortal armor will only appear after forging the dragon eyes, dragon tail, dragon scales, and awakening the 4th refinement of immortal body. At this point, Bai Feng's heart sank. 4th refinement of immortal body is what you think is enough to keep us here. You're still far from it. As Bai Feng's voice fell, a black phoenix that blotted out the sky appeared in the sky. End of this chapter. Chapter 1172. After the black phoenix appeared in the sky, the air above the four seas became even thinner. It was as if even the air was lost in the eternal night and was about to disappear. There was nothing special about the Black Phoenix. However, this wasn't because the Black Phoenix's appearance was mediocre. Enveloped by the pure power of night, the Black Phoenix was like a phoenix-shaped black hole that had split open in the sky. At this moment, the Black Phoenix flapped its wings, and the boundless night sky above the island was instantly withdrawn into the Black Phoenix's body. The Black Phoenix looked even more reserved now that the island was illuminated again. It was so restrained that not even the slightest bit of its own aura leaked out. As Bai Feng transformed back into her true form, the scorching world-roaring dragon, who had activated his immortal body, revealed a relaxed expression. Relieved, the scorching world Oregon mocked Bai Feng. Undying level 3, you haven't even awakened the colored armor on your undying body, yet you still shamelessly say you're far from it. Today, you will stay here and be burned to ashes by the flames. Bai Feng said disdainfully as she flung her dark tail feather that was wrapped in the power of eternal night. How can an ordinary fae like you understand the meaning of being blessed by the heavens? How can you easily imagine the power that the heavens love and care for? Dragon blood stays in the body, dragon marrow is nurtured in the bones. Among the main dragon species faes, you're considered excellent, but you ultimately didn't condense the dragon ball. For the rest of his life, he will just eat and wait for death on the bloodline of the main dragon species. Today, this dojo master will let a mortal like you know the difference between you and a favored spirit. Bai Feng's words were filled with arrogance. His tone was like that of a high and mighty chosen one mocking his inferior subjects. Bai Feng's insult made the scorching serpent dragon feel an uncontrollable rage. Under the fury of the scorching world serpent, the mantle at the bottom of the ocean was shaking violently, and several volcanoes popped up on the surface of the ocean. The lava from the volcano dyed the entire sea a reddish-brown. At that moment, the scorching sea dragon sharply discovered that the sky-engulfing lotus leaves that covered the island were still growing wantonly in the seawater that was even hotter than lava. It was not affected by the temperature of the sea at all. This discovery immediately made the scorching world Oregon panic. His eyes stared straight at the blue-haired woman who was sitting on the platform built with the water of the four seas. What baffled the scorching serpent was that the blue-haired girl was stuffing tomatoes into her mouth unhurriedly. His expression was relaxed. At this moment, an old man wearing a rose-red robe embroidered with a red pagoda-shaped pattern emerged from the island and arrived in front of the scorching world serpent in the sky. He grabbed the dragon-bone spear that the blazing world-roaring dragon was holding and said to Bai Feng with a grave expression. I didn't expect to see the eternal night phoenix, one of the 16 masters of the blessed mansion, on this remote island. I forgot to introduce myself. I am the manager of this island's pagoda canon. I am the pagoda reader under Lord Scarlet Page of the Scarlet Tower. After saying that, the old man's expression turned solemn and his tone was filled with threat. It doesn't matter if my fae can defeat you or not. As one of the 16 Hall Lords of the Heaven-Blessed Dojo, you attacked my pagoda cannon and even killed a kneeling pagoda chanter personally chosen by Lord Scarlet Page. Your blessed mansion cannot withstand Lord Scarlet Page's wrath. The old man was dumbfounded by the current situation. He didn't understand why the blessed mansion, which had always been cautious with the pagoda cannon, had taken the wrong medicine. Not only had she come to find trouble with the pagoda cannon, but she had also dared to kill someone from the pagoda cannon. Although the old man was the pagoda reader under Scarlet Page of the Tower of Eternity, the death of a kneeling pagoda chanter during the next pagoda cannon meeting. Among the 36 chanters kneeling before the Scarlet Tower, there would be one missing member. Hence, this matter couldn't be concealed no matter what. Lord Scarlet Page would definitely find out. As for how Lord Scarlet Page would deal with the blessed mansion, the old man didn't care. Right now, the old man only hoped that the eternal night phoenix would be intimidated by Lord Scarlet Page's reputation and back off. Although his fae, the scorching world-roaring dragon's immortal body, was a class higher than the eternal night phoenix, the eternal night phoenix was a true blessed spirit. The old man couldn't help but shiver at the thought of the blessed spirit's uniqueness. After the old man finished speaking, before White Phoenix could speak, a huge opening appeared in the seawater. The island in the middle of the sea was originally located in the deep sea area, according to the opening in the sea surface. The movement of the mantle at the bottom of the sea could be easily seen. The two halves of the seawater suddenly turned into two blue lotus flowers. The two blue lotus flowers were like a huge clamp. They immediately sandwiched the small island and the experts of the pagoda cannon on the island. The small island was instantly crushed by the two lotus flowers and merged with the seawater. The scorching world-roaring dragon used its immortal body to protect the old man, but the two orchid flowers' attack carried the power of the entire sea. Even if the attack couldn't hurt the scorching world-roaring dragon, it could still do its best to protect its contracted fae. However, the remaining 3 Emperor-class experts of the pagoda cannon and the 3 Emperor-class experts' contracted faes were turned into debris that couldn't be found in the sea under the attack of the two blue lotus flowers. Blue Lotus, who was on the imperial platform, said in a cold voice. The heaven-blessed mansion's hall masters have never been 16, but 17. Since you said that the heaven-blessed mansion has 16 hall masters, you should know why we want to kill the people of the pagoda cannon today. The two of us can't beat the 8 pages of the pagoda cannon, but that doesn't mean everyone in the heaven-blessed mansion is afraid of the 8 pages of the pagoda cannon. Our heaven-blessed mansion has secluded ourselves from the world for 1,000 years and never caused trouble, but that doesn't mean we can be bullied by anyone. The crimson page's rage is nothing. Saying that, the blue-haired woman's face suddenly revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. Then, she spoke to the old man with a playful expression. You really should thank that stupid dragon of yours. Hee, the heat produced by the underwater volcano's eruption allowed my companion to recover from his injuries in advance. As soon as Lan Lian finished speaking, the brownish-red sea that was dyed by the magma suddenly turned golden red. Red, magnificent red. Gold, dazzling gold. This red was like blood spreading on the seabed, while the gold was like a blazing warm sun rising from the seabed. In the sky above the sea, a tall red-haired man with a thin figure appeared beside Bai Feng, who had transformed into her true form. The man's heterochromatic eyes, one gold and one red, looked at Bai Feng seriously. Brother Bai Feng, leave the people of the pagoda cannon to me. The red-haired man's tone was calm and warm, but it had unquestionable determination and seriousness. Upon hearing the red-haired man's words, Bai Feng sighed and transformed back into her human form. ABC. Chapter 1173. Bai Feng said as she looked at the wound on the red-haired man's arm that had yet to fully heal. Shui Shua, don't force yourself. Shui Shua shook his head and said. Brother White Phoenix, after I awakened the Corona Jade Spider bloodline and transformed into a favored spirit, you haven't seen the exclusive skill that I obtained after advancing to an immortal species, right? Today, I'll let you have a good look. Hearing that, Bai Feng's eyes lit up, revealing a look of anticipation. Then, he looked at the blazing world-roaring dragon and the old man, whose auras were clearly in a mess after the Blue Lotus's attack. I haven't told you before, but I don't like people calling my main body by its name. I like people to call me Bai Feng. My brother, Shui Shua, is the 17th Dojo Lord of the Blessed Dojo. Spirit of Heaven's favor, the bloodline of the celestial Corona Jade Spider has not disappeared from the Heaven's Favor Mansion. Hearing this, the old man's eyes flickered. Aside from the various hall masters, it wasn't as if the Blessed Ones didn't have other treasures. The Heaven's blessed mansion protected the lives of many treasures favored by the heavens. It was just that the strength of these Heaven's chosen ones was too low, not enough to take on the position of Blessed One's hall master. From the moment the Blue Lotus appeared, it was true that it had mobilized the power of the 4 seas. However, Lan Lian had never clearly displayed her aura and pressure. Heavenly chosen spirits were favored by heaven and earth. Heavenly chosen spirits that possessed the power of water were the favored children of the water. All the rivers in the world would strive to please it. Thus, it was not difficult for such a heavenly chosen spirit to mobilize the power of the 4 seas. However, the furious attack just now proved that the blue-haired woman on the platform was also a dojo mistress of the heaven-blessed dojo. The woman did not activate her immortal body, nor did she use her body martial transformation, but a casual strike from her had such power. This meant that the woman was probably more powerful than the eternal night nether phoenix. After realizing this, the old man knew that he and the scorching serpent wouldn't be able to escape. If it was just White Phoenix, the old man knew that even if he used his sacred source life form and the scorching world roaring dragon activated its immortal body, he would not be able to escape the eternal night dark phoenix's attack. But there were still a few hours before nightfall. These few hours were enough for him to find a way to seek Lord Scarlet Page's protection. If the eternal night nether phoenix continued to chase after him, the blessed mansion would have one less owner. Now, however, there was an additional divine spirit that wielded the power of water. Moreover, this was the ocean, and every single tide was a tentacle of the chosen spirit of water. Under the pursuit of Si Zhang's divine spirit of water, there was no way he could escape the sea. 2 attacks from the 2 heavens blessed dojo masters killed 4 of the Scarlet Tower's kneeling chanters. From this, it could be seen that the other party had no intention of letting him leave alive. The old man was already prepared to die, but when it rains, it pours. The old man, who had the will to die, suddenly realized that the spirit of providence that had attacked the base of the pagoda cannon wasn't one of the 2 spirit of providence. There were 3 of them. He thought too highly of himself. When the blue-haired woman first appeared, she said that this was the lair of the 3rd pagoda cannon. Presumably, the other 2 bases of the pagoda cannon had also been attacked by the 3 heaven-blessed dojo masters. As for why there was no news, the old man was not confused at all. It would be strange if news of the 3 heaven-blessed dojo masters attacking together had spread. However, looking at the current situation, the injured heaven-blessed dojo master had decided to attack his main fae, the scorching roaring dragon, alone. Under the old man's perception, the heaven-blessed dojo master discovered that his strength had just evolved from a creation breed to an immortal breed. His immortal body was only at first refinement. The old man believed that with the support of his sacred source life form, the scorching roaring dragon might be able to kill the heaven-blessed dojo master. With that in mind, the old man shouted at Xue Shua, Bai Feng, and Lan Lian. Let's make a bet. If I defeat this heaven-blessed dojo master with the bloodline of the Sky Corona Jade Spider, I won't hurt him, and you'll let me live. Bai Feng was speechless when she heard the old man's words. Old thing, let's not talk about whether or not you can defeat my brother. Even if my brother falls into a disadvantageous position, do you think I and this iron lady beside me are joking? As soon as Bai Feng finished speaking, she felt a strong gust of wind rushing towards her face. Bai Feng reached out and caught a tomato out of habit. He picked up the tomato and put it into his mouth with a smile on his face. I've cheated a tomato. Lan Lian was infuriated. At this moment, Lan Lian's expression was still relaxed. He recalled the exclusive skill that Xue Shua had obtained when he had completely activated the celestial jade spider bloodline after advancing to an immortal species. Lan Lian felt that it would take at most 3 minutes for this chaotic sea region to completely return to peace. The old man was enraged when he heard Bai Feng's words. His anger was mixed with hysterical despair. This anger didn't just come from the ridicule in Bai Feng's words. It was because the old man knew that he had fallen into a predicament where he would surely die today. Under this predicament, he had no hope of seeing the activation of the hibernating one. It was also impossible for them to witness the true revival of the world of spiritual energy under the guidance of the pagoda cannon. The old man, who knew he was going to die, calmed down after his anger and despair. The old man looked straight at Xue Shua and said in a hoarse voice, "What the blessed dojo has done today is no different from declaring war on the pagoda cannon." The old man placed his hand on his chest and looked at the crimson pagoda mark on his robe. Immediately after, a cup burning with raging flames appeared in the old man's hand. The old man chanted, "The cup of fire, ignite the flames of the heavens with the power of lava. Burn your body, scorching world drake." As the old man chanted, the entire world seemed to become a part of the cup of fire in an instant. The power of lava at the bottom of the sea boiled violently. The power of lava formed a stream that rushed up from the bottom of the sea and poured into the cup of fire. As the power of lava poured into the goblet of fire, the entire sky was set ablaze. The world was filled with burning clouds of fire. The clouds of fire scattered flames like rain. These flocculent flames caused the temperature between heaven and earth to suddenly reach a peak. Under this intense temperature, the sea level dropped at a speed visible to the naked eye. After activating its immortal body, the scorching world drake held the dragonbone spear upside down. The aura of the scorching world drake and the dragonbone spear merged into one. After activating its immortal body, the scorching world drake performed spirit return and entered its most powerful battle form. At this moment, the body of the scorching world drake that was burning the world grew several dragon bones that broke through its flesh. These dragon bones were extremely sharp and were surrounded by a high temperature that could burn everything. The cold light that flickered at the tips of the bones manifested the lethality of these protruding dragon bones. ABC. Chapter 1174. The blazing aurochs did not engage in close combat with Shueshua immediately. Instead, it coordinated with the sacred source life form, the goblet of fire, and directed the flames to attack Shueshua. This seemingly perfunctory attack was the blazing aurochs' attempt to test Shueshua's strength. The blazing aurochs had never come into contact with a heaven-blessed spirit before, let alone fight one. Hence, the blazing aurochs were unconvinced by Bai Feng, who was a level 3 immortal. Moreover, Shueshua had just become an immortal species. However, the caution of a contractor forced the blazing aurochs to be cautious. Shueshua did not move when he saw the flames flying towards him. Shueshua's eyes were filled with endless sorrow and remembrance as he watched the burning world. The day his daughter was born, the day before the Jade Gui died, was the happiest day of his life. The Jade Gui that gave birth had set the world ablaze. When Shueshua saw the same beautiful scene again, it was filled with sorrow and sorrow. He thought of his daughter, whose fate was unknown, and his wife, who had died at the hands of the 5 pages of truth. The sorrow and remembrance in Shueshua's eyes instantly turned into determination. I thought everyone in the tower canon would be familiar with the uniqueness of the celestial corona jade spider's bloodline. Playing with fire in front of the celestial corona jade spider's bloodline, you overestimate yourself. Sundial, extreme yang fire, celestial corona jade robe. When Shueshua shouted the words celestial corona jade robe, the setting sun in the sky shone with dazzling light. It was unknown if the sun had absorbed the light from the fire clouds, or if the light from the sun had covered the fire clouds and dimmed them. In short, only the rising sun shone with a jade-like luster. The jade-like flames formed a robe that covered Shueshua's body. At this moment, all the flames in the sky, including the sacred source lifeform's goblet of fire, flew towards the celestial corona jade robe on Shueshua's body. The celestial corona jade robe greedily absorbed all the hot flames and became more solid. Shueshua pointed at the spot between his eyebrows. In an instant, a bright red spot appeared on his forehead. Shueshua, who wore a jade robe and had blood on his forehead, walked toward the old man and the blazing world-roaring dragon in a leisurely manner. No one knew if it was because the bright red color between Shueshua's eyebrows was too soul-stirring, or if the jade-clothed Shueshua was like a sun god descending to the mortal world. With every step that Shueshua took, the pressure that the old man and the scorching world Oregon had to endure increased. The blazing world-roaring dragon could no longer endure the pressure that Shueshua was exerting on it. It suddenly attacked Shueshua. As soon as the heavy fist, which was covered with bone spikes, touched Shueshua's sky gui jade robe, the left arm of the dragon, which had activated its immortal body and entered the soul return state, was burned into nothingness by the robe. Shueshua looked at the scorching world-roaring dragon in front of him and said, "The temperature of the celestial corona jade robe is the temperature of the sun's surface. A main dragon species Fae that hasn't even condensed a dragon ball has to fear the sun even if it knows how to play with fire." As he spoke, Shueshua spread his arms and embraced the blazing world-roaring dragon. Shueshua did not loosen his hold on the blazing world-roaring dragon no matter how it struggled in his arms. After a while, there was only an immortal body left in Shueshua's arms. The dragon on the immortal body was the blazing world-roaring dragon's original appearance. The immortal body was constantly changing its shape, switching back and forth between the blazing world-roaring dragon's fourth phase immortal body and the blazing world-roaring dragon's immortal body. Shueshua casually stored the blazing world-roaring dragon's immortal body into the diamond face storage box. Then, he waved his hand, and the sky gui jade robe separated into a ribbon. It wrapped around the old man, who was holding the cup of fire and had just summoned 2 creation breed phase. Shueshua tossed the cracked cup of fire in his hand. The remnant of a 6-star sacred source life form was considered a good item. Shueshua secretly looked forward to it. If my daughter hadn't died, Sister Ziqing could have forged the remains of the 6-star sacred source life form, the Goblet of Fire, into a precious artifact for my daughter. Blue Lotus eyes were filled with admiration as she looked at Shueshua, who stood shoulder to shoulder with the setting sun. Blue Lotus seemed to see the orange-haired woman who always had a smile on her face, a smile brighter than the sun. Bai Feng just stared at Shueshua with her mouth wide open and kept muttering. Hugging a sister and killing her, hugging a sister and killing her, hugging a sister and killing her. Everything was as Blue Lotus had expected. Within 3 minutes, the sea region that had been bustling for a long time had calmed down. The only difference from before was that a romantic island had disappeared from this part of the sea. Blue Lotus, who continued to rush toward the Radiance Federation, slowly recovered from the excitement of destroying the 3 pagoda lairs. She suddenly remembered that Big Sister Ziqing had said, if someone is looking for trouble, don't be afraid. What if they were to look for trouble now? However, even if they took the initiative to look for trouble, Blue Lotus felt that Big Sister Ziqing would not blame them. When Shueshua had said he wanted to go on a mission and Big Sister Ziqing had agreed. Big Sister Ziqing must have thought of this scene. As the big sister of the heaven-blessed mansion, Big Sister Ziqing had always been calm and could suppress things. Apart from Shueshua, the one who wanted to take revenge for Yugui the most was probably Big Sister Ziqing. Others might not know, but Blue Lotus knew that after Yugui had died, Big Sister Ziqing had left the heaven-blessed mansion once. When she had returned, she had been seriously injured and had only recovered not long before Shueshua had become an immortal. Blue Lotus did not know what Big Sister Ziqing had done, but she was sure that it had something to do with the pagoda cannon. Suddenly, Blue Lotus frowned. Crimson Page? What the hell is Crimson Page? Shouldn't the 8 pagodas in the pagoda cannon be the Tower of Destiny, the Tower of Revival, the Tower of Eternal Sin, the Tower of Instant Destruction, the Tower of Truth, the Tower of Whipping, the Tower of War, and the Tower of Decay? The page of the pagoda cannon should be the Destiny page. When did the Tower of Destiny become the Crimson Tower? The Destiny page became the Crimson page. Blue Lotus was very clear about the nature of the pagoda cannon. Every leader and chanter of the pagodas in the pagoda canon had supreme faith in the pagodas. Therefore, it was impossible for the leader and chanter to remember the names of the pagodas and leaders they were in. Therefore, Blue Lotus firmly remembered the Crimson Tower and the Crimson Page in her heart. She planned to ask Big Sister Ziqing when she returned to the heaven-blessed mansion and see if she knew what was going on. After traveling for almost an hour, Bai Feng suddenly slapped Shueshua's back excitedly and laughed heartily. Brother, you have obtained the exclusive skill, Heavenly Phantom Jade Robe, after advancing to an immortal species. You usually look serious, but I didn't expect you to be even more flirtatious than me. Shueshua was startled by Bai Feng's sudden slap and started coughing. He looked at Bai Feng in confusion and felt that she was not very smart. Also, what was the flirtatious that Bai Feng mentioned? Was there really someone in this world who was more flirtatious than Bai Feng? If you like this book, please come to the main QQ reading site to support the original version. Requesting for a full subscription. Recently, there has been a lot of good stuff in these few chapters. Everyone, please read it carefully. Also, please request for recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, full subscription, and tips. Button writes late into the night and is extremely diligent. Recently, the map has changed, and the results have dropped drastically. Sob, 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 sob. I hope everyone can support Button. End of this chapter. Chapter 1175. Upon seeing that Bai Feng was being stupid again, Lan Lian threw 7 tomatoes at her. 5 of them were caught by Bai Feng, while 1 was caught by her mouth. Bai Feng simply did not have the space to catch the 7th tomato, so she could only watch the tomato hit her face and blossom. Thinking that they were going to the Radiance Federation this time, Lan Lian assumed the posture of a big sister in the team. The 3 of us should report to Zhao Siye and Night Leaning Moon before going to the Radiance Federation this time. Along the way, we've also heard the news that the Azure Federation's 2 Azure Envoys brought sequence 90 to 100 Azure 100 out of the Radiance Federation. In this case, it's fine if we don't get into trouble when we go to the Radiance Federation's territory. If we get into trouble, even if we're the blessed spirits of the undying species, as the Hall Masters of the Heavens Blessed Dojo, the Radiance Federation will not give us any face. Upon hearing that, Shueshua nodded and recalled that the Moon Empress and Chief Guard Yi had helped Yugui. Although he had not been able to save Yugui's life, Shueshua still had a grateful look on his face. Bai Feng had also used her tongue to clean the tomato sauce on her face. Upon seeing Lan Lian's serious face, Bai Feng said smugly, "What trouble can we get into? What kind of trouble can we get into? If the people in the Radiance Federation don't take the initiative to provoke me, I won't take the initiative to cause trouble. But if they provoke me, I can't swallow my anger." Upon hearing that, Lan Lian looked at Bai Feng speechlessly as though she was looking at a fool. "Then when we reach the Radiance Federation, let's split into 2 teams and act separately. I'll be in one team with Shueshua, and you'll be in the other team. The Radiance Federation has 7 stabilizing weapons. If you're not afraid, go ahead and show off. If something happens, don't look for Shueshua and me. We don't have any face in the Radiance Federation." Upon hearing Lan Lian's words, Bai Feng wanted to refute, but she thought of the Radiance Federation's legendary 7 stabilizing weapons. She subconsciously shrank her neck and did not dare to be naughty anymore. While the immortal battle was happening on the island, Luo Ye's maiden heart, which had not been stirred for almost 10 years, was once again stirred. As a noble lady from a Class 2 Creation Master family, anyone in the town would have to bow and address her as Mississippi. Growing up in such an environment, Luo Ye didn't believe in love at all, let alone love at first sight. But this person is like a rainbow. When he meets the sky, he will know that he is there. At this moment, looking at the boy running towards her, Luo Ye believed in the so-called love at first sight. At first glance, Roya's eyes couldn't move away from the figure that was running towards her. Colorful fireworks ignited in Luo Ye's heart. This made Roha feel a throbbing from the depths of her soul. The young man was in a sorry state. His clothes had been cut open for some reason. It was also covered with sticky mud, which had now completely dried up. As the young man ran, his clothes would be pulled, and the dried mud would be crushed. The youth's face was also covered in mud. However, even though the young man was in such a sorry state, he still faintly exuded a refreshing aura. It was like a small white poplar bathed in the sun. Not only that, but with Luo Ye's eyesight, she could tell at a glance that the youth's clothes were extraordinary. The jewels hanging from the youth's torn spirit chi clothes were produced from the Class 1 and Class 2 underground dimensional rift. Such jewels weren't cheap in the Divine Wood Federation. Just from the clothes, Luo Ye could determine that this youth was a noble like her. Luo Ye thought that she wouldn't be able to control the desire in her heart and would treat the youth like other playthings in the past. However, apart from the love at first sight, Luo Ye's desire was completely suppressed at the bottom of her heart. The beautiful throbbing made Luo Ye shy, and she subconsciously tugged at her clothes. She shook the purple fur cloak that symbolized wealth that was draped over her body. The Dry Cliff Bandits leader, Fu Di, was also startled when he saw Lin Yuan. From the color of Lin Yuan's hair and eyes, Fu Di could determine that the youth in front of him was from the Deep Lush Federation. The Deep Lush Federation was a federation with a commercial civilization, and there were many rules that needed to be secretly followed. One of the rules was that within a region, as long as the Deep Lush Federation's caravans were stationed to hold a gathering and trade goods, the other Deep Lush Federation's caravans couldn't stay here and compete for resources. It could be said that 99% of the people from the Deep Lush Federation that appeared in the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation's territory were members of the caravans. Of course, there were always exceptions. The Deep Lush Federation, which was a federation with a commercial pillar, also had some mysterious reclusive clans. It was rumored that the reclusive clans controlled immeasurable wealth. When the Deep Lush Federation's reclusive clans' descendants were young, they would choose to train in the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation's territories. The reclusive clans' descendants that went out to train would often have powerful retainers following them to deal with any possible emergencies. As the leader of the Dry Cliff Bandits, Fu Di could definitely be considered an experienced adventurer. Even if he hadn't been to this forest before, just based on the strength of the Fays he encountered, Fu Di could determine that there wouldn't be any overly powerful Fays in this forest. Otherwise, they would have been attacked by powerful Fays if they swaggered around in the forest. Fu Di had been searching for good goods for Luoya all these years. Therefore, Fu Di understood Luoya's preferences the best. The youth in front of him had dirt on his face, and he couldn't see his appearance clearly. However, the youth gave off a feeling that Luoya definitely liked. Fu Di was certain that after wiping the youth's face clean, as long as the youth wasn't ugly, Luoya would definitely love him. If Luoya was happy, she or the other members of the Dry Cliff Bandits might be able to obtain some Creation Master resources. This way, the overall strength of the Dry Cliff Bandits would be enhanced. Fu Di originally wanted to ask 2 members of the bandits to capture the youth. However, Fu Di then thought about it. If he personally brought the youth over, it was possible that Luoya would be happy and generously give him some rewards. Selfishly, Fu Di took a step forward and yelled at Lin Yuan. "Kid, get over here. You are from the Deep Lush Federation's caravan, right?" Just as Fu Di shouted, he heard Luoya say angrily to him, "What are you shouting for? Be civilized. What kind of manners are you shouting?" After hearing Luoya's words, Fu Di was confused. "Big sister, your voice is much louder than mine just now. Also, when did Big sister talk about manners?" Under the watchful eyes of the 300-meter bandits, "Big sister, you have had a lot of fun too." Immediately after, Fu Di saw Luoya's face blushing as she stepped forward and spoke to the youth who had stopped. ABC Chapter 1176. Big brother, come over here. Big brother, come over here. While speaking, Luoya took out a silk handkerchief and handed it to him from afar. She said even more shyly, "We have water here. Big brother, wipe your face with the handkerchief first. Don't be afraid. I am from Nanmu City's 2-star family, the Luo family. If you encounter any trouble, you can tell me directly. I might be able to help you." Luoya's delicate voice sounded. He subconsciously thought of Wang Fuxiang. Her voice is too coquettish. Then he thought of what the 5 Dry Cliff Bandits had said. Lin Yuan felt that Luoya's current state was somewhat different from what the 5 scouts had said. While he was thinking, the jaws of the 300 Dry Cliff Bandits, including Fu Di, almost dropped to the ground. Because in their impression, they didn't remember when Roha spoke to someone in such a tone. However, Fu Di's brows immediately furrowed. He looked at Lin Yuan with a somewhat complicated gaze, which was then filled with determined killing intent. Fu Di was ambitious and rather courageous. However, the Dry Cliff Bandits had been developing for many years, and they could only barely maintain their level. This was because no matter how hard Fu Di and the Dry Cliff Bandits worked, they wouldn't be able to increase their combat power significantly without the resources of Creation Masters. It was possible to find Creation Masters to help with Radiance Dollars and spiritual ingredients in the Radiance Federation. However, creation masters were absolute nobles in the Divine Wood Federation. If you took the deep Brahmin dollars and spiritual ingredients to find a creation master for help, they wouldn't just refuse to help without any connections. They might even steal the deep Sanskrit coins and spirit materials you've brought with you. The Dry Cliff Bandit's current development was all because Fu Di had met Luoya and obtained creation master resources from her. Therefore, no matter what, Fu Di had to tie Luoya to the Dry Cliff Bandit's war chariot. Fu Di had always been very confident about this. This was because Fu Di knew that Luoya was a playboy. He just had to constantly find new stimuli for Luoya according to her preferences. Luoya would always stay in the Dry Cliff Bandits and occasionally pour some creation master resources into the Dry Cliff Bandits when she was in a good mood. But now, there was a player who didn't play by the rules and suddenly shyly played with feelings. To put it simply, Roja didn't need any new stimulation. This situation will make him and the Dry Cliff Bandits lose their role in Roja's hands. In the worst-case scenario, Luoya might be waiting for the youth from the Deep Fanatic Federation to leave before leaving with him. When that time came, the Dry Cliff Bandits would return to their previous state of not having any creation master resources. Fu Di had thought things through clearly, but it wasn't easy to put them into practice. Fu Di felt that if he rashly killed the youth in front of him, Luoya would definitely not be willing. Luoya's main fei, the mist anti-poison moth, was gold 7/flawless. Fu Di's main fei, the flesh-devouring vine, was only gold 7/elite. Although the devouring vines and the mist anti-poison moths were of the same level, there was a difference in quality. Looking at the shyness in Luoya's eyes, as well as the inexplicable affection, Lin Yun couldn't help but laugh. Fu Di was sure that as long as he made a move against this youth, Roja wouldn't hesitate to attack him and the 300 brothers behind him. Fu Di prayed that after the youth wiped his face, he would reveal a beehive garlic nose, purple lips, and triangular eyes. His face would also be covered with spots and bumps. However, this thought was completely shattered in Fu Di's mind in less than 5 seconds. After wiping away the mud, the youth's face was clean and fair, with distinct edges. He had thick eyebrows and long eyelashes, and his eyes were bright and full of expression. It was as if a bottomless pool was brewing in his bright and piercing eyes. While the youth's temperament was gentle, it also carried a very high-level mystery. The flawless nose on the youth's face increased the charm of his eyes by at least 30%. Seeing that Roja was so shy that she lowered her head and didn't dare to look at the youth, the killing intent in Fu Di's eyes intensified. He tried his best to resist the urge to attack the youth. The rest of the Dry Cliff Bandits weren't fools. They naturally knew that the current development of the Dry Cliff Bandits was all due to Roja's creation master resources. Lin Yuan's appearance gave everyone the same sense of crisis as Fu Di. Roja's back was facing Fu Di and the Dry Cliff Bandits, so she couldn't see their eyes. However, Lin Yuan could see it clearly. The corners of Lin Yuan's mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly. He glanced at Fu Di and the bandits behind him. He opened his mouth and thanked Roja in a clear voice. Roja's current situation made Lin Yuan adjust his original plan at the right time. Originally, Lin Yuan only wanted to use Roja and the others to establish a relationship with the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan. Then, he would capture Roja and bring her to the underground palace and use any possible means to get the information he needed from her. He would also get rid of the information and understand the Divine Wood Federation situation in a real sense from the natives. However, Lin Yuan now felt that it was more useful to leave Roja outside than to capture her and bring her back to the Forbidden Area. Roja came from a 2-star family in the Divine Wood Federation's Nanmu City. She definitely had a transcendent status in Nanmu City. Through Roja's relationship, it might be easier for him to obtain spatial spiritual materials than through the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan. Of course, this didn't mean that Lin Yuan had decided to give up on establishing a relationship with the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan. Lin Yuan planned to use both sides of the relationship. Luoya had been communicating with Lin Yuan as the young lady of Nanmu City's 2-star family. He didn't even mention that he was the vice commander of the Dry Cliff Bandits, as if he wanted to draw a clear line between himself and the Dry Cliff Bandits. The sense of urgency in Fu Di's heart grew stronger. Fu Di stepped forward and said to Luoya. Miss Luoya, the purpose of our Withered Cliff Caravan's trip this time is to obtain some metals, spirit materials, and furs from the Iron Hammer Federation. This little brother is obviously from the Deep Burn Federation. Miss, can you ask this little brother if he knows where the Deep Burn Federation's caravan is? That saves us the trouble of searching everywhere. When Fu Di came forward to talk, Luoya immediately became nervous. Even if the people of the Deep Lush Federation weren't merchants, there wasn't a single person who didn't hate the bandits. Bandits were different from bandit groups. Bandit groups mainly looted resources. After accomplishing their goal, they wouldn't kill the members of the Deep Burn Federation's caravans. However, the bandits were different. Luoya could no longer remember how much blood the Dry Cliff Bandits had stained their hands. However, when Luoya heard Fu Di refer to the Dry Cliff Bandits as the Dry Cliff Caravan, her expression relaxed. Luoya's expression relaxed, and she gave Fu Di an appreciative look. Then, she took out a bottle of spirit liquid and threw it to Fu Di. End of this chapter. Chapter 1177. Upon seeing the bottle of dark red spirit liquid that Luoya gave him, Fu Di revealed an ecstatic expression. He did not know how long he had begged Luoya for this bottle of spirit liquid. Luoya had always held this bottle of spirit liquid in her hand and had no intention of giving it to him. However, because he had mediated, Luoya had given him this bottle of spirit liquid. With this bottle of spirit liquid, Fu Di's main fei, the flesh-devouring vine, could also be upgraded to flawless, just like Luoya's mist anti-poison moth. While pleasantly surprised, Fu Di's heart was also more worried. Such a generous reward showed that Luoya cared about the youth in front of her. Luoya was afraid that the youth would find out about her identity as the Dry Cliff Bandits' deputy commander, which would arouse his disgust. This also showed that Luoya was not playing around this time. She was serious. While Fu Di was pondering, he heard the youth's clear voice. A Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift opened up ahead, and I saw a Class 3 spiky beetle. In the dimensional rift, I got separated from my retainer. I am not from the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan, but I know that there is a small caravan that is holding a gathering more than 100 kilometers north. As he spoke, he no longer tried to restrain his aura like before. When he relaxed and restrained his aura, Luoya suddenly felt that the youth in front of her had an indescribable noble aura. This kind of noble aura could only be cultivated by those who were truly held up to the clouds. Luoya had only seen such a noble aura in the Divine Wood Federation's main city's Class 3 or Class 4 family members. After this touch of noble aura was revealed from the youth's body. The gems produced from the Class 1 and Class 2 underground dimensional rift on the youth's clothes seemed to have turned into clay. They were completely suppressed by the youth's aura. It was like placing a piece of fluorite next to a slate, and one could easily feel the fluorite's luster. However, if the slate was moved away and replaced with a piece of glass-type jade, in comparison, the fluorite would become dim. Luoya was even more fascinated by Lin Yuan's noble aura. In fact, Lin Yuan had deliberately released a few layers of his aura because he felt that since he wanted to build a relationship with Luoya, he had to show the corresponding foundation. Only by taking out the corresponding foundation could Luoya ignore other factors. He was still willing to trade with him sincerely. After Lin Yuan pointed the way, Fu Di gritted his teeth and led the 300-meter brothers toward the Deep Lush Federation's caravan. Luoya originally wanted to invite Lin Yuan to call them banana wood elephants. But when he saw the banana wood elephant throwing out brown objects from its tail from time to time, he hurriedly rejected Luoya's invitation. This banana tree elephant had just been fed by the Dry Cliff Bandits, so there was no space left in its stomach. He was in a hurry to pour it into his stomach. If one were to ride on the back of a banana tree elephant, with the digestion speed of the elephant, the smell would definitely not dissipate. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan had rejected its request to ride with it, it could sense the disdain in Lin Yuan's eyes toward the banana wood elephant. Roha directly commanded 3 members of the Dry Cliff Bandits to lead the banana tree elephant to the back of the group. The banana wood elephant was now a Silver X/Elite Fae and was just a step away from reaching gold. Since Lin Yuan was so disgusted with the banana tree elephant, it was clear that he looked down on it. This made Luoya even more convinced that Lin Yuan's foundation was extraordinary. Luoya thought to herself. If Lin Yuan is an ordinary person in the Deep Enlightenment Federation, the old man at home will never allow me to marry him. But if Lin Yuan is a person with a foundation, then the snobbish old man at home might not be so opposed. At the thought of this, Luoya's heart suddenly tightened. A thought appeared in her mind. What if Lin Yuan's family was more powerful than the 2-star family that she was in? At the thought of this, Luoya felt that she should treat Lin Yuan better. After walking for less than an hour, Fu Di had sent at least 2 people to deliver food to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan did not reject it. It was not that Lin Yuan looked down on Fu Di, but the Princess Luoya's vicious venom law had already reached Myth 3. With the protection of the Myth 3 vicious venom law, even if a platinum venom-type Fae bit him, he would only suffer some superficial wounds. At most, Lin Yuan would suffer some superficial wounds. After eating the 2 pieces of bread that she had put the bronze intestine severing stone garlic's juice, he did not die from the pain in his stomach. He was still chatting and laughing with Luoya, as if nothing had happened. In the team, Fu Di fiercely threw the bottle in his hand on the ground and cursed softly. Fuck. When I go back, I'll burn your store. I'll beat you half to death. You dog. It's fine that you usually sell my hemostasis medicine with shoddy goods and cheat me of my money. You're too damn black-hearted, but you're selling fake poisons. The more Fu Di thought about it, the angrier he got. He took out another piece of bread and put jam in it. Then, he steeled his heart and said to the vice-captain beside him, who was in charge of the Dry Cliff Bandit supplies. Thunder, take out the tail of the pinnacle gold rotten blood hook scorpion we got. Upon hearing that, the burly man called Thunder by Fu Di took out a walnut-shaped fruit. He threw the walnut-shaped fruit on the ground, and a large pile of messy supplies appeared on the ground. Upon seeing this, Luoya, who was walking in front of the team, said with dissatisfaction. Fu Di, what are you doing? I didn't give you a walnut for you to use like this. The storage ability of the bronze walnut tree's walnut storage ability will disappear after 10 uses. Don't tell me you don't know this common sense. Hearing Luoya's words, Fu Di hurriedly smiled. I need to pick some materials and trade them with the Deep Vendor Federation's Merchant Guild for hides and metals. When Luoya heard this, she immediately felt that she had wronged Fu Di. After thinking for a moment, Luoya threw a bottle of spiritual liquid at Fu Di and said, I concocted this bottle of spirit fluid myself. It can upgrade a pinnacle bronze Fae to silver. If you don't need it, just watch and see how it's distributed. Holding the spirit liquid that Luoya threw over, Fu Di wasn't happy. Instead, a vicious look appeared on his face. Fu Di's words were mainly to see if Luoya had made up her mind to let the Withered Cliff Bandits disguise themselves as the Withered Cliff Caravan and give up on robbing the Deep Cult Federation's caravan. As expected, Luoya gave up. Fu Di, who was on the road again, took the rotten blood hook scorpion's tail and squeezed the venom into the bread's jam without leaving a trace. Fu Di sneered in his heart. Kid, you were lucky to eat a fake poison. This time, I'll let you eat the venom from the pinnacle gold rotten blood hook scorpion's tail. Let's see if you will die. Chapter 1178. Fu Di was afraid that Lin Yuan would smell the faint fishy smell of the rotten blood hook scorpion's venom in the jam, so he added 2 more spoonfuls of jam to the bread. Fu Di quickly walked to Lin Yuan's side while holding the bread with added ingredients. He grinned and said very politely to Lin Yuan. Brother, I wonder how long it will take for us to trade with the Deep Ream caravan when we reach our destination. This time, We, the Dry Cliff Bandits, the Chamber of Commerce has prepared a lot of resources. I'm sure we won't be able to finish all of them by nightfall. Have another piece of bread. I won't be hungry at night. I've added a lot of jam from Nanmu City into this bread. I guarantee it'll be delicious. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan looked at Fu Di playfully. Lin Yuan's eyes alarmed Fu Di, and he subconsciously thought that Lin Yuan had discovered something fishy about the bread. Before Fu Di could figure out what the problem was, a voice suddenly rang out. Immediately after, Fu Di's entire face turned black. Roha, he said that there was a lot of jam in the bread. Do you want another one? Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Fu Di subconsciously withdrew the bread that he was about to hand to Lin Yuan. The two-star Luo family knew that Luoya was with the Withered Cliff Bandits. If Roha was poisoned to death, it would be his bread. The Luo clan would definitely find him and pull out his tendons and bones. With the power and connections of a two-star family like the Luo family, there was no place for him, a leader of a small bandit group, to hide. If the Luo family placed a bounty for creation master resources on him, the Dry Cliff Bandits might even sell him out. Unlike Fu Di's panic and worry, when Luoya heard Lin Yuan ask if she wanted to eat another piece of bread, she only felt that she had received Lin Yuan's concern. His heart was filled with sweetness, as if a ball of soft honey had flowed into his heart. However, Luoya had already eaten a piece of bread. If she continued to eat, she was afraid that Lin Yuan would think that she was a foodie. In order to maintain the image of a lady, Luoya shook her head and said shyly. Little brother, my stomach is very small, I don't want to eat anymore. Seeing Luoya shake her head in rejection, Fu Di's expression softened. Lin Yuan didn't intend to tease Fu Di anymore and took the bread from him. Under Fu Di's expectant gaze, he began to eat. At that moment, Lin Yuan was not in the mood to act with Fu Di. This was because Lin Yuan's mind was completely focused on the walnut that Fu Di had just taken out. The object holding walnut was a kind of spatial spirit material, even though it didn't contain much spatial energy. However, if there were enough walnuts, it would be possible to support his travel between the Divine Wood Federation and the Radiance Federation. He had just seen the function of the storage walnut. It was a very clumsy storage item. Since the Dry Cliff Bandits could afford such a clumsy storage item, Lin Yuan felt that it would not be rare in the Divine Wood Federation. In addition, when he had just eaten the 2 pieces of bread, he had clearly felt that poisonous substances had been added into them. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the vicious poison law allowed him to resist poison. If they ate a meal with poisonous substances, they would feel that the food with poisonous substances was more delicious. He had eaten this bread to verify his conjecture. As a result, Lin Yuan found that it was really the case. Apart from the sweetness and sourness of the jam and the fragrance of the wheat cake, this bread also had a special fragrance. It gave Lin Yuan the feeling of eating crispy chicken-flavored fried scorpions. While eating the bread, Lin Yuan pretended to casually ask Luoya, who was beside him. Are the object-holding walnuts you mentioned sold in Nanmu City? Luoya's eyes lit up when she heard that. Lin Yuan had asked her if there were any object-holding walnuts for sale in Nanmu City. This meant that Lin Yuan probably had plans to go to Nanmu City. However, Luoya was immediately puzzled. Not to mention Nanmu City, which had a 3-star family clan, had object-holding walnuts. Even in those small towns with only 1-star clans, there were some of them. The puzzled Luoya's heart stirred. Could it be that Lin Yuan didn't know anything about the Divine Wood Federation? If that was the case, Luoya felt that Lin Yuan was more likely to be a descendant of the Deep Brahmin Federation's hidden wealthy clan. When ordinary youths in the Deep Brahmin Federation were 11 or 12 years old, they would follow caravans and travel between the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation. In such an environment, even a fool would not know about the object-holding walnuts. Only the descendants of the Deep Brahmin Federation's hidden wealthy clans would receive elite education from their clans from a young age. They would learn abilities and nurture their bearing. For example, social experience and common sense were all mastered in a short period of time after coming out to train. The more Luoya thought about it, the more she felt that she had seen through the truth. Luoya decided to test Lin Yuan. Luoya first answered Lin Yuan's question. Nanmu City's auction house often has silver object holding walnuts for auction. Occasionally, gold object holding walnuts will appear. As for bronze object holding walnuts, as long as you know a Class 1 creation master in Nanmu City, you will be able to obtain them easily. It just so happens that I am a Class 1 creation master. I don't have any object holding walnuts on hand, but I have 7 or 8 object holding walnut trees at home. If you want object holding walnuts, I will go back and nurture them, and I will be able to get plenty. When you visit Nanmu City as a guest, I will give you 10. Luoya immediately pointed out her identity as a Class 1 creation master and expressed her goodwill to Lin Yuan. She then changed the topic and asked, "That's right. You said that you and your retainer got separated because of the Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift. Could your fae have been injured by the alien insect's attack? If it was injured, I can help your fae to heal it now." Lin Yuan shook his head in response. "I didn't summon my fae at that time. My fae doesn't have any combat ability, so it is useless to summon it." When Lin Yuan answered Luoya's question, his mind was no longer thinking about object holding walnuts. Instead, he was thinking about the object holding walnut tree that could produce object holding walnuts. Lin Yuan had never seen a plant-type object holding walnut tree before, so he wasn't sure what kind of conditions the object holding walnut tree had to meet in order to produce object holding walnuts. If it was in the past, Lin Yuan would still need to think of a solution. However, Lin Yuan now had Feng Shuang, Old He, and Hu Tian, who were Class 4 creation masters. In addition, when Genius executed its abilities, it also had the ability to become a Class 4 creation master. With 4 Class 4 creation masters and the 100 Questions Beast Legion, after obtaining the walnut tree, they would soon be able to harvest a large number of walnuts. If the walnut tree was easy to split and cultivate, he could even cultivate a small walnut forest. Upon hearing that, Luoya's eyes turned and she asked softly in a very expectant tone. "Your fae isn't adept at combat, so it must be a support type or healing type fae. Big brother, I want to take a look at your fae." "Can I? I can't take it anymore. My body is really uncomfortable. Tomorrow, during the day, it would be even more troublesome. Good night, everyone." End of chapter. Chapter 1179. When Lin Yuan heard Luoya's words, he couldn't help but raise his brows. Luoya's expression was shy and expectant, as though she had not asked to see the fae but something else. In the past, if someone wanted to see his fae, Lin Yuan would definitely not agree. It was even more impossible to summon his fae. However, since Lin Yuan had decided to establish a relationship with Luoya, it was fine to summon the fae to show his foundation. However, he did not know which one he should summon since he had so many faes. After all, Lin Yuan had a few faes that matched the healing type and support type without combat ability. Lin Yuan, who was in deep thought, did not slow down or immediately summon the fae. Luoya did not feel anything about Lin Yuan's actions. Luoya had already determined that Lin Yuan was a noble. If he was not a noble, he would not be able to wear this attire, let alone have such an aura. Each gem produced in Class 1 and Class 2 underground dimensional rifts was worth about 30 deep Brahmin dollars. The difference in prices of gems of different colors would not be much, and it would only fluctuate within 10 deep Brahmin dollars. Lin Yuan's clothes were covered in mud, and the material could not be seen. However, there were at least 40 to 50 gems embedded in it. In total, the cost of the gems used to make this garment was around 1200 to 1500 Brahmin coins. Therefore, if this spirit chi clothing was sold in a store, it would be sold for at least 2000 deep Brahmin dollars. Luoya could also afford to wear such clothes. However, if the clothes were damaged like this because of an accident, Luoya would definitely be reluctant. After observing along the way, Luoya found that Lin Yuan did not show any reluctance because of the damaged clothes. It was as though the damaged clothes were not worth mentioning to Lin Yuan. Luoya had already determined that Lin Yuan was a noble, but she still wanted to see his fei. The reason was that Luoya wanted to use Lin Yuan's fei to determine his noble status. If Lin Yuan was really a disciple of a hidden clan that had come out to train, then his contracted fei would definitely be very outstanding. After Lin Yuan ate the bread smeared with the venom from the gold carrion scorpion's tail, Fu Di's mentality was completely relaxed. The carrion scorpion's poison was a kind of chronic poison, and it would first destroy the poisoned person's nerves, so that the poisoned person would not discover that he had been poisoned because of physical discomfort. Depending on the strength of the victim's constitution, the poison of an ordinary gold-rank carrion scorpion would take effect within 2 to 3 hours. Since he was using the peak gold-rank carrion scorpion venom, the time for the venom to take effect would be reduced to 2 hours. 2 hours was enough for the army to reach the Deep Vendor Federation's caravan. After the poison took effect, Lin Yuan would turn into a pile of rotten flesh, and his entire body would emit a foul smell. There were many people at the gathering organized by the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan, and there were also plenty of spirit chi professionals from the Iron Hammer Federation. Given Luoya's character and temper, she would definitely take revenge for the person she fancied. However, given Fu Di's understanding of Luoya, she would definitely not personally check on his body that had turned into rotten flesh. There was a high chance that Roha would assign him to this job. Once he was done with the investigation, he could naturally push the blame to the Deep Lush Federation's caravans or the Iron Hammer Federation's spirit chi professionals. Driven by anger, Luoya would immediately kill the Deep Lush Federation's caravans and the Iron Hammer Federation's spirit chi professionals. At that time, he would only need to put in more effort to take revenge for Lin Yuan, and not only would he not be suspected by Luoya, he might even receive some rewards from Luoya. Without Lin Yuan, Luoya would probably take back her heart and would no longer leave the Dry Cliff Bandit King team. After making up his mind, Fu Di looked at Lin Yuan and felt that he was no different from a dead person. However, when he saw Luoya's request to see his fei, Lin Yuan seemed to be very hesitant. Fu Di could not help but mock. "Brother, no matter how weak your fei is, you shouldn't be embarrassed to summon it, right? Take a look at Big Brother's fei. If you could obtain Big Brother's protection in the Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift, you wouldn't be in such a sorry state like before." As he spoke, Fu Di proudly summoned his gold-ranked level 7 flesh-devouring vine. Fu Di's flesh-devouring vine was over 3 meters long, and it was a thick brownish-red vine that looked like a spirit snake. There were many suction cup-like tissues growing on the vine. These suction disc-like tissues could easily scrape flesh from the target after wrapping around it. However, when Lin Yuan looked at Fu Di's flesh-devouring vines, he felt that Fu Di's flesh-devouring vines were inferior to Red Thorn's gluttonous vines. The gluttonous vine could also rely on the acid in Red Thorn's body to corrode and digest flesh, while the flesh-devouring vine could only rely on brute force to scrape the flesh of its target. Even if such a phase grade was upgraded, as long as it didn't encounter a fortuitous encounter like a bloodline mutation. With a single attack method and functionality, this fei was destined to be weak in complex environments and sudden situations. As for Fu Di's claim that with his protection, he wouldn't be in such a sorry state when facing the Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift, it was even more nonsensical. Under the tide of alien insects accumulated in the Class 1 Dimensional Rift, Fu Di's gold/elite flesh-devouring vine might be able to kill some alien insects in the beginning. However, he was unable to effectively replenish his energy, facing the flood of alien insects that would not stop at all. The devouring vine would soon be trampled by the swarm of insects into a pile of mud. Back then, Xian Ying and Zhang Xiaobai both had gold feis. Xian Ying's and Zhang Xiaobai's gold feis were much stronger than Fu Di's. However, an ordinary gold fei was so small in front of the alien insect tide. Even 20 gold feis would be wiped out by the Class 1 alien insect tide, unless there was a power with a qualitative change that could take charge of the overall situation. For example, Spirit Guard Dong Hai's Platinum/Epic Shadow Dire Wolf. This was also why Red Thorn had been so shocking when it had spawned the Sea of Flowers to fight against the alien insect tide. Fu Di had already poisoned himself 3 times. Lin Yuan didn't intend to let Fu Di survive after this trip. Lin Yuan's disregard made Fu Di, who had a flaunting expression, look very embarrassed. When Fu Di mocked Lin Yuan, Luoya frowned and glared at him. No matter what, Fu Di was someone who was on the same trip as her. Fu Di's words to Lin Yuan would easily cause him to have negative emotions toward her. In order to protect her image in Lin Yuan's heart, Luoya hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Your clothes are dirty, and you haven't washed them yet. Summoning the Fae will likely dirty it. Why don't you? Just as Luoya was thinking of a way to smooth things over, the youth raised his hand. A white cat with many tails appeared in the youth's arms. End of this chapter. Chapter 1180. A person's preferences would often depend on their living environment. It could be said that the Divine Wood Federation's ordinary people were all silk lovers and pursued all kinds of clothing and supplies made of Fae's silk threads. The nobles, without exception, were all fur lovers. The Divine Wood Federation's nobles would often collect precious fur coats and use them to make carpets and curtains. It was just like how the Radiance Federation's members liked to place ornaments made of completely jade-textured wood at home as a facade. Luoya was also a member of the Divine Wood Federation's nobles, so she was naturally no exception. Luoya, who was a fur lover, looked at the cat with many tails in Lin Yuan's arms and couldn't help but let out a cry. Apart from wearing fur products, the Divine Wood Federation's nobles' other dream was to raise a pet with beautiful fur at home. Luoya raised a few small beasts in Nanmu City. However, those small beasts could only have pure-colored fur at most, and the fur quality couldn't be compared to the cat in Lin Yuan's arms. The cat's fur was as white as the snow in the Iron Hammer Federation's north. The cat's blue eyes were even purer than expensive Paraiba tourmalines. What fascinated Luoya the most was this cat Fae's 8 long tails. Each of the 8 long tails was much longer than the cat's body, and the tails had a silk-like texture when they swayed softly. Luoya had never seen any animal's fur as soft as this cat's. After this 8-tailed snow-white cat Fae was summoned by the youth, it acted coquettishly to the youth. It used its 8 tails to gently caress the youth's spirit chi clothes that were covered with mud. The movement of the cat's tail was clearly very gentle, but it seemed to have a lot of magic. In a few moments, it cleaned up the dirt on Lin Yuan's spirit chi clothes. Upon seeing Lin Yuan's clean spirit chi clothes, Luoya immediately blushed and lowered her head. Through the opening on the spirit chi clothes, Luoya could faintly see Lin Yuan's wheat-colored skin. Lin Yuan reached out to rub Genius's small head, and Genius immediately meowed with a childish voice. After a series of choices, Lin Yuan finally decided to summon Genius. At first, Lin Yuan had chosen Blackie, Purple Firmament, and Genius. However, Blackie had a huge body and was a flying-type Fae. With Blackie around, he wouldn't be in such a sorry state when encountering a Class 1-dimensional rift. The purple cloud might be a flying-type Fae, but as a butterfly that was the size of 2 palms, it was destined to be unable to carry a person. It was in line with Lin Yuan's standards. The reason he did not summon the purple cloud was that the blue flash butterfly also existed in the Divine Wood Federation. Naturally, there were also legends about the blue flash purple butterfly. It was true that Zi Xiao had evolved from the blue flash purple butterfly bloodline to the purple sky fairy butterfly bloodline. However, if someone had seen the blue flash purple butterfly's picture book, they would easily notice that the butterfly patterns on the blue flash purple butterfly's wings were very similar to the butterfly patterns on Zi Xiao's wings. However, the butterfly patterns on Purple Firmament's wings were much more beautiful than those on the blue flash purple butterfly's wings. In the end, it was best to summon Songming. Lin Yuan didn't know if the Divine Wood Federation had 100 questions beast, but there were plenty of feline fays in the entire Agon continent. After Genius grew multiple tails, it no longer had the general characteristics of 100 questions beast. As long as Genius didn't speak, even if someone saw and possessed 100 questions beast, they wouldn't treat Genius as 100 questions beast. Genius, which was in Fu Di's embrace, was like a resounding slap to Fu Di's face. It caused Fu Di to summon the flesh-devouring vine and boast about himself to completely vanish. At the same time, Fu Di was silently rejoicing that he didn't impulsively make a move on Lin Yuan. Under Fu Di's perception, he realized that he couldn't sense the strength of the feline fae in Lin Yuan's embrace. This meant that this feline fae's grade and quality were at least a grade higher than his flesh-devouring vine. It also meant that the feline fae in Lin Yuan's embrace was at least at platinum. Fu Di wasn't a creation master, and a simple inspection wouldn't be able to see genius's quality. However, Fu Di knew that even if the feline fae in the youth's embrace was a normal fae, it wasn't something that his flesh-devouring vine could defeat. This feline fae might not have any offensive ability, but as a beast, its body definitely wasn't weak. If Lin Yuan angered this feline fae, which was at least at platinum, the feline fae's hidden claws would be able to create 5 lacerations with a single swing. Fu Di was silently rejoicing as he looked at Lin Yuan. Hehe, so what if your fae is incredible? Anyway, I have already witnessed you eating the bread that was smeared with the gold carrion scorpion poison. You will definitely die within 2 hours. Once Lin Yuan was dead, this feline fae would also die with its owner. Fu Di was planning to use his exquisite skinning skills to remove this feline fae's fur without any damage. If he sold this feline fae's fur, it would be enough for him to eat for the rest of his life. As for the spoils of war that he was about to obtain, Fu Di was rather curious. Brother, your cat's quality isn't low. Has it reached epic? When Luoya saw Lin Yuan summon this feline fae, she firmly labeled him as a descendant of the Deep Lush Federation's hidden aristocratic clan. Genius appearance made Luoya realize that Lin Yuan's level was much higher than hers. Although Luoya wasn't sure to what extent. However, Luoya estimated that the hidden aristocratic clan that Lin Yuan was in had at least a Class 3 creation master overseeing it. After confirming Lin Yuan's identity as a hidden aristocratic clan's descendant, Luoya was happy but also very perturbed. Luoya was afraid that her Class 2 family background would become an obstacle between her and Lin Yuan. Luoya, who had grown up in Nanmu City, wasn't confident about her identity for the first time. Luoya took a deep breath. It was time to show her true skills. She, a noble lady who had been fawned on since young, was going to try to be a bootlicker in order to gain Lin Yuan's favor. At the same time, Luoya had a murderous intent toward Di and the entire Dry Cliff Bandits. Fu Di and the Dry Cliff Bandits had always been looking for toys for her and knew how unbearable she was. After confirming that she couldn't control Lin Yuan, Luoya had to do her best. She wanted to eliminate all possibilities of Lin Yuan knowing that she was unbearable. Luoya was a ruthless person, even though she had stayed in the Dry Cliff Bandits for a few years. However, everyone in the Withered Cliff Bandits, including Fu Di, were just tools in Roha's heart. End of this chapter. Chapter 1181. Upon hearing Fu Di's question, Luoya felt that her tool was simply too inexperienced. Luoya was a Class 1 creation master and had limited abilities. She wasn't able to see through Genius Diamond's strength. However, Luoya could sense the presence of willpower from Genius, which was in Lin Yuan's embrace. This meant that the cat in his embrace was a fantasy breed fae. Luoya sighed. How could a person be so outstanding? Lin Yuan came from a reclusive noble family. He was handsome and talented. He was the perfect ideal for a young girl's dream lover. Along the way, Luoya kept talking to Lin Yuan, and Fu Di didn't continue to follow them to make things uncomfortable. It looked at Lin Yuan with a sinister gaze while looking at Genius Fur with a greedy gaze. Gradually, they discovered a few strange insects along the way. Since there were no powerful faes in the forest, these alien insects, which had been pushed away by the source sand earlier, were lucky enough to survive. Upon seeing Lin Yuan and the others, it immediately roared and charged forward. In the end, these insects naturally died at the hands of the Dry Cliff Bandits. What surprised Lin Yuan was that these alien insects, which he could casually pinch to death, were actually very powerful. The members of the Dry Cliff Bandits were all injured to varying degrees. Lin Yuan now knew the strength of the Dry Cliff Bandits. After trekking under the afterglow of the setting sun, Lin Yuan finally saw over 200 tents at the end of the forest. In front of each stall, there was a black-haired and black-eyed vendor selling his wares enthusiastically. The vendors hawked their wares while collecting their customers' supplies. This scene made Lin Yuan feel as though he had returned to the Redbud City's Xia region's Fei wholesale market. Luo Ye originally wanted to introduce the situation of these small caravans that wandered between the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation. Even if Lin Yuan was a descendant of a hidden aristocratic clan and had just gone out to train, he should still know the Deep Brahmin Federation's caravan rules. Thus, Luo Ye did not mention it to Lin Yuan. The arrival of more than 300 people at this small gathering immediately attracted the attention of the caravan. The guards in the caravan immediately summoned their Feis to be on guard. At a glance, he found that most of the Deep Lush Federation's Feis were at peak bronze. There were only a few silver-ranked beasts. With such strength, it was no wonder that the Withered Cliff Bandits had set their sights on him. However, if the two sides clashed, the Dry Cliff Bandits wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. Fu Di and a few of the core members with silver Feis wouldn't be in danger, but the weaker members were destined to lose a portion of them in the life-and-death battle with the merchant group's guards. Lin Yuan estimated that as long as the caravan's guards put in some effort, the Dry Cliff Bandits would lose at least 100 members. Even with such losses, the Dry Cliff Bandits still had the courage to plunder caravans. From this, it was enough to see that the people of the Shockwave continent were valiant. The Spirit Chi professionals were all living on the edge of a knife. In the Radiance Federation, there were rules for everything. Even an Emperor-class expert wouldn't dare to make a move in the royal capital. Blood feuds between factions also needed to be resolved in the Extreme Arena through the Blood Oath Extreme Battle. However, the rules no longer had any binding force when they reached the boundary of the Agan continent. In other words, there weren't any so-called rules in the Awan continent. Everything he did was so uninhibited. The Dry Cliff Bandits had originally planned to plunder the merchant group. This was because Luo Ye had taken a liking to Lin Yuan, and he was from the Deep Brahmin Federation. Fu Di had no choice but to disguise the Dry Cliff Bandits' identity and intentions. Fu Di planned to wait for Lin Yuan's death to be blamed on the Deep Brahmin Federation's caravan. He would plunder the Deep Brahmin Federation's caravan according to the original plan. Therefore, Fu Di couldn't be bothered to perform the act of negotiating with the Deep Brahmin Federation's caravan. Luo Ye, who was from a two-star family, wasn't interested in such a small caravan. Lin Yuan was the happiest in the gathering. He walked to the first stall and used True Data to take a look. He realized that there were plenty of spiritual ingredients, fruits, and plant Feis that he had never seen before. There were also some clay jars. It was obvious that these things were produced in the Divine Wood Federation. When he saw that 90% of the people in the gathering were wearing armor, he knew that they were from the Iron Hammer Federation, which was rich in metal resources. It was no wonder the Deep Brahmin Federation's guards had such a huge reaction when they arrived. It seemed that this gathering was not held for the Divine Wood Federation but for the Iron Hammer Federation. Although these things that he had never seen before were novel, they had no effect under True Data. They couldn't pique his interest either. Only the things inside the clay jars couldn't be seen through the surface of the jars. Thus, he reached his hand into the clay jars. Just as his hand was about to touch the clay jars, his hand was hit by a thick palm. "Kid, don't you know that you can only look and not touch things that you don't want to buy?" When Lin Yuan's hand was hit, he subconsciously lifted his head and saw the stall owner looking at him with a displeased expression. Upon seeing this, Luo Ye hurriedly came over. At the same time, she couldn't help but silently criticize the hidden aristocratic family. Even if the hidden aristocratic family wanted the younger generation to gain experience through training, they couldn't possibly not teach common sense, right? The hermit clan's ambitions were a little too big. After cursing silently, Luo Ye explained to Lin Yuan in a serious manner. When the Deep Brahmin Federation's caravan holds a gathering, the goods can't be touched. Once you touch it, you will either buy it or be blacklisted by the caravan and driven out of the gathering. When Luoya explained, she thought to herself, given Lin Yuan's identity, he was hit by such a small merchant. She really didn't know how he would take revenge. In the end, Luoya saw the youth in front of her smile and say apologetically, "Uncle, I'm sorry. It's my first time attending a gathering, and I don't know the rules. I've caused you trouble. Uncle, what's in this clay jar?" The youth's sunny smile and sincere apology made the man a little embarrassed. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, the man couldn't help but think of his son who had died under the bandits' robbery the year before. At that time, his son had been about the same age as the youth in front of him when he had died. If he had still been alive, he would have been much stronger than the youth in front of him. The man's heart was filled with sorrow and sorrow. After sorting out his emotions, the man first explained why the goods couldn't be touched. When we collect the goods, we will determine the quality of the goods in advance. The good quality goods will be kept, and the bad quality goods will be returned. We strive to not let any inferior goods mix into the caravan. End of this chapter. Chapter 1182. But even if the quality of the goods has been strictly selected, there will definitely be traces left after being touched by so many people. Phase and metal spirits are fine, but things like fur and silk will get dirty if you touch them too much. It's possible that the silk and fur will be damaged. If we can find it in time, it's fine if we lose it in our hands. If we can't find it and sell it, it will damage the reputation of the sincere righteous caravan. After the man finished explaining, he answered Lin Yuan's question. This is hard liquor collected in a nearby town in the Divine Wood Federation. You're still young, so it's best to drink less of this. If you get addicted to it, you won't have enough Brahmin dollars to spend. It's also very dangerous when you get drunk. Lin Yuan, who was inexplicably instructed by the man, scratched his head and said, "Thank you for your concern, uncle." "Thank you for your concern, but I don't drink." After looking at this stall's items, Lin Yuan said goodbye to the man and walked toward the other stalls. Luoya, who was following behind Lin Yuan, looked at his back and became more and more obsessed. Luoya had done a lot of ruthless things. If this man dared to slap her hand, Luoya wouldn't hesitate to let the mist anti-poison moth kill him. It was a punishment for offending her. Although Luoya was ruthless, it didn't mean that she didn't have a heart for the light. Lin Yuan's politeness and sunshine were qualities that Luoya didn't have. These qualities that were far from Luoya were displayed in the youth, and they deeply attracted her. This made Luoya's determination to kill Fu Di and the Dry Cliff bandits even stronger. But how should she find this person? After visiting 20 to 30 stalls in a row, Lin Yuan lost interest in continuing. The items at these stalls were similar, and it would be a waste of time if he continued. If he had the time, he might as well talk to the caravan's leader. Lin Yuan asked the stall owner in front of him, "Uncle, I want to ask where your leader is. Where is the person in charge of your caravan? I have some business to discuss with the person in charge of your caravan." Lin Yuan hadn't changed out of his spirit chi clothes. Although the clothes had been torn more than a dozen times, the gems on the spirit chi clothes could still prove that the spirit chi clothes were expensive. It could be seen that Lin Yuan was qualified to discuss a deal with the leader. The Deep Vendor Federation's caravans needed an endless supply of resources. Therefore, a normal caravan would never reject people who wanted to do business with them. The stall owner pointed at the largest tent not far away and said enthusiastically, "The person in charge of our Chang'e caravan, Mr. Feng, is in the tent in front." I saw that the few Iron Hammer Federation Spirit Chi professionals who came to discuss cooperation had already left the tent. Only Mr. Feng and his family should be in the tent now. If you have any business, just go into the tent and speak to Mr. Feng. After Lin Yuan thanked him, he walked toward the big tent that the stall owner pointed at. The tent was wide open and there was no way to knock on the door. Lin Yuan simply walked in. After entering the tent, Lin Yuan saw a flat-top old man and a middle-aged man going through the accounts. The middle-aged man and the old man looked at the account book while holding the 2-year-old child in their arms. When the child saw Lin Yuan and Luoya, he yelled twice. The old man first looked up and sized up Lin Yuan and Luoya before asking, "What do you think? Do the two of you need anything? If you want to discuss business, our Chang'e caravan will show our utmost sincerity. However, the prerequisite is that you have good goods." Just as the old man finished speaking, before Lin Yuan could reply, there was a commotion outside the tent. Through the tent, Lin Yuan could faintly hear someone shouting outside. What? Why did an underground dimensional rift suddenly appear out of nowhere? Fuck. Quickly look for Mr. Feng and ask him what we should do. Looking for Mr. Feng won't help either. This dimensional rift is so huge, and judging from the aura, it isn't a Class 1 underground dimensional rift. It's over, it's over. When the Class 2 underground dimensional rift opens, once those underground lifeforms escape, we will all die. Upon hearing the voices coming from outside, the old man called Mr. Feng first spoke to the man beside him. Jiaji, carry Daodu properly. No matter what happens, ensure Daodu's safety. The old man didn't even wait for anyone to look for him. He immediately rushed out of the tent to investigate the situation. Luo Ye's expression was extremely awful. If the rumors from outside were true, this dimensional rift was really a Class 2 existence. Even if he had the gold fei, the mist anti-poison moth, it would be hard for him to escape. The underground dimensional rift opened up in the ground, and in less than 2 minutes, a large number of underground dimensional lifeforms would surge out. Many of the dimensional creatures that emerged from the Class 2 underground dimensional rift had membranous wings. For example, the mushrooms and gargoyles had extremely powerful aerial combat abilities. Luoya suddenly turned to look at Lin Yuan. If a Class 2 underground dimensional rift opens, you and I will ride my mist anti-poison moth. We will run in the direction of the Divine Wood Federation. Didn't you just say that you opened up a Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift? Do you know the exact location of that Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift? We can only fly in the direction of the insect swarm and let the two waves of exotic beasts collide and kill each other. Only then can we survive. Lin Yuan was a little surprised to hear Luo Ye's words. Luo Ye's mist anti-poison moth was only a gold fei, and the more weight it carried, the slower it would fly. The mist anti-poison moth could fly much faster with Luo Ye on its back than with him on its back. Lin Yuan had never expected that Luo Ye would choose to bring him along at such a critical juncture. Before Lin Yuan could say anything, there was an even louder noise outside the tent. It contained several voices that Luo Ye was familiar with. Luo Ye cursed in her heart. She knew that Fu Di couldn't hold back and made a move after seeing the underground dimensional rift open. Just as Luo Ye was thinking about how to get out of the current predicament and let the Dry Cliff bandits keep her secret forever, Lin Yuan calmly said to her and the middle-aged man carrying the child. He didn't panic at all and spoke calmly to her and the middle-aged man carrying the child. We can't stay in the tent. Let's go out and see the situation first. But before Lin Yuan could step out of the tent started to burn. Luo Ye waved her hand and summoned a 2-meter-long blue-winged dragonfly. Cold Wing Wind Dragonfly, use Cold Gale. Upon hearing Luo Ye's command, the blue-winged dragonfly suddenly flapped its wings twice. The violent gale blew the burning tent into pieces. After the tent was broken, Luo Ye saw Fu Di commanding the Dry Cliff bandits to summon their feis. They were confronting the Deep Enlightenment Federation's merchant group's guards and merchants. End of this chapter. Chapter 1183. Fu Di, who was in a standoff with the sincere righteous caravan, would occasionally turn his head to search for something. Luo Ye's heart surged with anger. If Fu Di revealed his identity as a member of the thieves, would there still be a chance for them? Thinking of this, Luo Ye shouted. Fu Di! What are you doing? Fu Di immediately turned to look at Luoya as though he had found hope. Fu Di heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Luoya. As an experienced adventurer, Fu Di knew that in front of the Class 2 underground dimensional rift, there was no chance of survival. Without Luoya's main fei, the mist anti-poison moth, it was impossible to escape alive. However, when Fu Di turned to look at Lin Yuan beside Luoya, he was dumbfounded. According to the time, Lin Yuan should have turned into rotten flesh by now. How could he still be standing in the same place? However, the situation was urgent, and Fu Di did not have time to care so much. He rushed toward Luoya. He shouted as he rushed. Luoya! Use your mist anti-poison moth to take me with you. If you don't leave now, it will be too late. Fu Di's words caused the 300 Dry Cliff bandits behind him to be in a mess. The Dry Cliff bandits were involved in the business of burning, killing, and plundering. Everyone licked blood on the tip of the blade. However, not being afraid of death did not mean that they could be abandoned. The Dry Cliff bandits had always been relying on Fu Di. Now, Fu Di's cold-blooded behavior was equivalent to breaking the backbone of the 300 Dry Cliff bandits. Fu Di's actions caused the Dry Cliff bandits and the sincere righteous Chamber of Commerce to be at a disadvantage. Lin Yuan curled his lips when he saw Fu Di running toward Luoya. Although he was determined to kill Fu Di, he was facing a natural disaster now. If Fu Di could bear the responsibility as the leader of the Dry Cliff bandits and do his best to find a way out for the Dry Cliff bandits, perhaps he would respect Fu Di. In Lin Yuan's eyes, Fu Di was a useless person who didn't even have the qualifications to be a coolie in the underground palace. Seeing that Luoya did not respond, Fu Di shouted anxiously, "Don't bother about the pretty boy beside you. Don't bother about the pretty boy beside you. If you want a pretty boy in the future, I'll do my best to help you find one." Upon hearing that, Luoya was so angry that she could no longer care about escaping with Lin Yuan. Instead, she commanded the Coldwing Wind Dragonfly, which was a few grades lower than the Mist Anti-Poison Moth. He launched an attack on Fu Di. At this time, Luoya didn't dare to talk back to Fu Di. Fu Di had already begun to expose his past. Luoya was really afraid that Fu Di would say more things that Lin Yuan couldn't know. Luoya, who wanted Fu Di to shut up, used her full strength. Fu Di was shocked. He didn't expect Roha to kill him. At this time, Roha had no reason to attack him. He had a gold fei, and it would be of great help when escaping. Could it be that Luoya knew that I had poisoned Lin Yuan? Seeing the Coldwing Wind Dragonfly's ferocious attack, Fu Di did not dare to be careless. He quickly got the flesh-devouring vine to block it. The cold wind blades slashed at the body of the devouring vine, leaving a few wounds on its body. The wounds on the flesh-devouring vine's body should have been bleeding. However, under the freezing of the wind blade's cold air, the juice condensed into ice crystals at the wounds. The appearance of the ice crystals added frostbite to the flesh-devouring vine's wounds, causing the flesh-devouring vine, which had an extremely strong recovery ability, to be unable to immediately heal the wounds. From the discovery of the underground dimensional rift, to the confrontation between the Dry Cliff bandits and the Sincere E-merchant group, to Luoya dealing with Di, all the farce had happened in a short span of a minute. However, the minute that the farce had consumed allowed a skinny green-skinned monster to crawl out of the underground dimensional rift. After this green-skinned monster appeared, all sorts of crypt lifeforms gushed out of the Class 2 underground dimensional rift. Under the command of the skinny green-skinned monster, these crypt lifeforms surrounded the entire gathering area in an orderly manner. Luoya said in horror, "Goblin. Why is there a goblin? Why is there a goblin? This open dimensional rift is definitely a pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift." The skinny green-skinned monster that Luoya called a goblin was currently staring at the Coldwing Wind Dragonfly, which was attacking Di, and the mist anti-poison moth above Luoya's head. The green-skinned monster snapped its fingers, and 2 earthen spheres immediately appeared in the air. The 2 earthen balls didn't chase after the fog poison moths and the Coldwing Wind Dragonflies. Instead, they firmly blocked the fog poison moths and cold-wing wind dragonflies' path of descent. If the mist anti-poison moth and the cold-wing wind dragonfly wanted to fly down, they were destined to encounter these two earthen spheres and be attacked by them. Upon seeing the situation, Luoya muttered to herself in despair. It's over this time. How can I die in such a place? I am a Class 1 creation master. Lin Yuan was the only one who could maintain his composure. When he saw the goblin crawling out of the pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift, he raised his brows in surprise. It was indeed rather strange for a goblin to appear in a pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift. Goblins were underground lifeforms with extremely high spiritual intelligence. They were similar to the Medusa demons in the swamp world and had a humanoid form. However, goblins were relatively rarer than Medusa demons, and they were much more useful. According to the Fey observer's information, goblins' skin color was generally grayish-green. However, the nearby goblin's skin color was a little blue, and it looked a little different from ordinary goblins. Furthermore, its spiritual intelligence seemed to be slightly higher than ordinary Class 4 goblins. Lin Yuan immediately used true data to investigate this strange goblin. Alien beast name, goblin, or vein transformation, life form, dimensional life form, alien beast grade, Class 4 innate specialty frowny face metal proliferation, sign a contract with a type of metal and absorb the metal's energy to increase one's strength. The increase in strength will feed back to the metal, allowing the metal to increase in strength. Every grade increase can replace a type of metal. Upon seeing this strange goblin's true data, Lin Yuan's pupils shrank. He didn't expect to be so lucky to encounter a legendary goblin that was undergoing or vein transformation. If this goblin or vein transformation succeeded, it could transform into a special or vein goblin. Or vein goblins were treasures. When or vein goblins burrowed underground, they could easily sense the location of the or vein through the ground. Controlling a or vein goblin was equivalent to controlling several unexploited or veins. Every single one of these unexploited veins contained a huge amount of wealth. The ore vein's richness wasn't something a few hundred heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls could compare to. Lin Yuan felt that he could completely baptize this goblin and turn it into an apostle. 166 Reading Network. Chapter 1184. In terms of strategic significance, the ore vein gnome was more important than Wendy and Shitin combined. In addition, this gnome's talent, metal proliferation, could proliferate metals when it increased its strength. As long as he could get some of the metals he lacked in the future, he would not need to worry about not having enough. What Lin Yuan lacked the most now was the soft silver that could shield space and prevent detection. After controlling this gnome with the talent, metal proliferation, Lin Yuan did not need to work hard to find the soft silver. When Lin Yuan checked on this goblin that had mutated into a mineral vein, he found that it was sniffing excitedly. It seemed to have found something very interesting. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan thought, could there be an ore vein that has never been discovered in this area? When the ore vein was not mined and completely sealed, its aura would not leak out. Only a bloodline or vein gnome that had mutated would be able to sense it. It was not easy for spirit chi professionals to rely on fays to find ore veins. Under normal circumstances, spirit chi professionals would find ore veins sealed underground through accidental discoveries and fortuitous encounters. This allowed the major ore veins underground to have the opportunity to be mined. At the border between the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation, resources were scarce. Lin Yuan was not sure about the Iron Hammer Federation, but the Divine Wood Federation's only town was so barren that it could not even support a Class 1 creation master. Under such circumstances, it was not impossible for there to be an ore vein here that had never been discovered. The ore vein mutation gnome glanced at the land not far away and then looked playfully at the Dry Cliff Bandits and the Sincere Caravan's members, who were surrounded by layers of underground lifeforms. It was as though it was looking at toys that could be played with at will. Lin Yuan calmly stroked Genius' soft fur, and Genius also had a calm expression. However, Luoya, who was beside Lin Yuan, was going crazy. Luo Ya's Fei, the mist anti-venom, and the cold wing wind dragonfly were cut off by the 2 soil balls that the class 4 gnome had spawned from underground. As long as the mist anti-venom and the cold wing wind dragonfly wanted to fly down, the 2 soil balls would keep a close eye on them. A class 4 gnome's strength was equivalent to a platinum Fei. Luo Ya didn't dare to let the mist anti-poison moths and cold wing wind dragonflies withstand a platinum Fei's attack. If the fog anti-poison moth and cold wing wind dragonfly were to receive this attack, even if they didn't die, they would definitely be heavily injured. Putting aside the fact that the heavily injured mist anti-poison moths and cold wing wind dragonflies could not fly, even if they could, they would not be able to fly past the fungus bats and gargoyles that were pouring out of the Pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift. The scene was immersed in despair. The exotic beast horde that was gushing out from the Pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift was an absolute natural disaster in their eyes. With the advent of a natural disaster, unless a deity descended to the mortal world, only death awaited them. The coldwing wind dragonfly and the fog anti-poison moths were blocked by the level 4 gnome's 2 earth balls in the sky and could no longer attack D. However, Fu Di was not at ease at all. Apart from Luo Ya, Fu Di was the only spirit chi professional who had summoned a gold Fei. Excluding the intelligent diamond/fantasy breed that the level 4 gnome couldn't sense, Fu Di seemed to be the strongest person present. The fog anti-poison moths and cold-wing wind dragonflies were soaring in the sky, and the level 4 gnome's earth balls couldn't catch them. However, Fu Di and the flesh-devouring vine on the ground were within the gnome's attack range. The ground beneath Fu Di's feet caved in, causing Fu Di to be in the air. He nearly fell into the crypt that appeared out of nowhere. Fu Di's main Fei, the gold flesh-devouring vine, used its vines to firmly grab onto Fu Di's hand, allowing Fu Di to escape the calamity. Just as the flesh-devouring vine was about to pull Fu Di out of the crypt, an even larger crypt appeared under its feet. The flesh-devouring vine and Fu Di fell into the crypt at the same time. Immediately after, the crypt that suddenly appeared started to show signs of healing. In the crypt, Fu Di and the flesh-devouring vine struggled frantically and yelled, "Luo Ya! Please save me! If you save me, I can let the flesh-devouring vine cover for your fog anti-poison moths and cold-wing wind dragonflies and take the next attack for your fog anti-poison moths. I'm willing to be your servant. In the future, if you say east, I won't go west. Save me." When Fu Di's mournful cry for help entered Luo Ya's ears, her face revealed a joyful expression. Even though she didn't have the intention to save Fu Di, Luo Ya said, "Hold on for a while. I still have a Fei that I have yet to summon. I still have a Fei that I have yet to summon. Let the flesh-devouring vine extend out of the crypt, and I will let this Fei of mine pull the flesh-devouring vine and bring you up." While speaking, Luo Ya's face revealed a contemptuous smile. "Do you think you, Fu Di, are fit to be my servant?" It was too easy for a Class 1 creation master to find a servant with a gold Fei, and they could have as many as they wanted. Luo Ya was trying to save Fu Di and simply looked down on him. In addition, only a dead person could keep a secret. Even if she really saved Fu Di, her mouth would still be on Fu Di's body. Fu Di was speaking nonsense, and she couldn't possibly forcefully cover Fu Di's mouth. Fu Di's incessant urging came from the crypt, and Luo Ya was also doing her best. She was asking Fu Di to drag it out. Fu Di also listened to Luo Ya and constantly let the flesh-devouring vine extend its vines out of the crypt. He also summoned his other Fei, the silver steel wire vine, to slap at the crypt, hoping to use this method to slow down the crypt's closing speed. At the same time, Fu Di also took out a long saber and tried his best to dodge the earth spikes that grew out of the crypt while his body was injured. The Class 4 gnome's objective was to eliminate the greatest threat on the battlefield and was already determined to kill Fu Di. Fu Di's flesh-devouring vine kept extending out of the crypt, and it was the same as provoking the Class 4 gnome. Under the consecutive killer moves of the Class 4 gnome, Fu Di and his 2 Feis, who were waiting for Luo Ya's rescue, died in the closed crypt. Seeing that Fu Di was dead, Luoya let out a breath of relief. Luoya noticed that during the confrontation between the sincere merchant group and the Dry Cliff bandits, the man and the elder in the tent had summoned their pinnacle silver phase. This caused the Dry Cliff bandits to be at a disadvantage without Fu Di's leadership. In the end, they were all pushed to the periphery and had to face the increasing number of crypt life forms. Luoya had now seen the reality clearly and didn't think that she could survive in a pinnacle class two-dimensional rift. What Luoya wanted to do now was to be by his side with a clean conscience when she died. She wanted him to never know that he was in the past. Due to such thoughts, compared to escaping, Luoya hoped that the remaining Dry Cliff bandits would be wiped out. Luoya had already thought of a reason for deceiving Fu Di and not saving him. ABC. Chapter 1185. Luoya said to Lin Yuan. Fu Di has already gone crazy from the pressure of the class two-dimensional rift. Everything he says is nonsense. Fu Di wants me to take him away, but my fog anti-poison moth can't carry 3 people. At this point, Roha paused for a moment before speaking softly. Between you and Fu Di, I chose you. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan raised his brows. He really wanted to use a magnifying glass to see how big Luoya's heart was. He actually wanted to flirt with her at the critical moment of life and death. Lin Yuan thought to himself as he looked at the tide of underground cave lifeforms that were ready to launch a large-scale attack. The sudden situation has disrupted Mai and Lu Jie's original plans. Next, we'll have to see when Lu Jie will appear. Luoya, who was waiting for death, did not realize that Lin Yuan was still calm and composed. However, Mr. Feng and the man called Jia Ji had been paying attention to Lin Yuan while they were leading the sincere righteous caravan to confront the Dry Cliff bandits. From the moment they met, Lin Yuan's noble aura had attracted Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji's attention. Someone with this kind of temperament shouldn't appear in a small caravan that only had a few hundred people. Furthermore, genius, which was in Lin Yuan's embrace, was far more convincing than the damaged spirit Qi clothes on him. Mr. Feng had never seen this white cat species fey with 8 long tails before and couldn't see through its strength. However, just this feline fey's fur was worth more than the entire sincere merchant caravan. Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji were already running toward Lin Yuan. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, Mr. Feng's first words were, "I've neglected you just now. If you have a way to escape, can you bring along my grandson, Dodo?" After speaking, Mr. Feng gestured for his son, Feng Jiaji, to hand Lil Pi over to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was slightly startled and did not take the Pi that Feng Jiaji handed over. Upon seeing Lil Pi blinking her big eyes but still smiling foolishly at this juncture, Lin Yuan made a decision in his heart. If Lu Jie couldn't make a move in time to stop the exotic beast swarm, then he'd have to save the child in the midst of it. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan didn't take Lil Pi, Mr. Feng quickly took out 10 silver object-holding walnuts and said to Lin Yuan, "Don't worry. These 10 walnuts contain the resources that I've accumulated over the years from my travels. If you can save Daodu, these resources will be your reward." Speaking of this, Mr. Feng hurriedly added, "This is all I have. If I have more, I will definitely give them to you." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan looked at Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji, who was pursing his lips as he handed Lil Pi to him. "What if I have the ability to save the 3 of you?" Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Luoya, Mr. Feng, and Feng Jiaji, who were standing beside Lin Yuan, were shocked. Mr. Feng looked at his son, Feng Jiaji, and the other members of the Sincerity Trade Association who were resisting the Dry Cliff bandits with all their might. "Some of these people have been with me for 40 to 50 years, while others have been with me for 10 to 20 years. They are all old buddies. You want this old man to abandon these old fellows in a desperate situation? This old man can't do it. These people followed me when they were young. When they had children, their children followed me. When they had grandchildren, their grandchildren followed me. I can't just leave them here. Rather than living in guilt, it is better to die bravely and righteously. Upon hearing his father's words, Feng Jiaji also gritted his teeth and expressed his stance. When I was born, I stayed with my father in the Sincerity Caravan. My mother and daughter-in-law are also in the Sincerity Caravan. The Sincerity Caravan is my route. I won't leave either. Please, if you have the ability, I hope you can save Daodu. Daodu doesn't know anything now. I only hope that he can survive. To put it in a selfish way, Daodu's survival is equivalent to my survival. He is the continuation of my bloodline. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan looked at Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji with a different gaze. The faithfulness of the Sincerity Caravan was completely worthy of its name. Such a loyal caravan might not necessarily have a good development in this chaotic world, but it was definitely an excellent partner. Looking at Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji's expectant eyes, Lin Yuan reached out and caressed Daoda's face. My retainer knight and I were separated because of the dimensional rift that suddenly opened. A pinnacle class 2 underground dimensional rift opened here. With such a huge commotion, my retainer will definitely find its way here. As long as he finds its way here, everything can be resolved. Just as Lin Yuan finished speaking, before Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji could react, the dry cliff bandits at the periphery let out mournful wails. It's over. This group of underground creatures is charging over. Those at the back, don't block me. Ah! My leg is broken. Originally, the Class 4 gnome was commanding the exotic beast Tide. However, after a huge, pitch-black stone statue flew out of the pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift, the exotic beast Tide was in complete chaos. This meant that the newly emerged Class 4 obsidian gargoyle and the Class 4 gnome were fighting for the commanding authority of the exotic beast Tide. Soon, in the endless exotic beast Tide, the 300 dry cliff bandits at the periphery were wiped out. Seeing that the Sincere Caravan's members were about to be slaughtered by the exotic beast Tide, Lin Yuan prepared to communicate with the source sand under his feet and let it boil. At that moment, an aura swept across the entire exotic beast Tide from afar. This aura might not be like the slaughtering sky butterfly, which made all the dimensional creatures kneel in fear. However, this aura attracted the attention of all the underground dimensional creatures, including the Class 4 gnome and the Class 4 obsidian gargoyle. Immediately after, several huge spider webs suddenly appeared in the air. These spider webs seemed to appear out of thin air, and the moment they appeared, a large number of underground dimensional creatures were stuck to them. The underground dimensional creatures that were stuck to the spider webs were not killed and were still alive. However, they had completely lost the ability to move. Lin Yuan took a closer look and realized that the spider webs were filled with tiny, translucent spiders. These spiders were not even the size of half of his fingernail. However, it was these translucent spiders that instantly pulled up several giant webs. The spider webs in the air were the densest in the direction of the aura. As the spider webs repeatedly stuck together, the underground dimensional creatures in an area of the exotic beast Tide were completely cleared. It was equivalent to opening up a path in the exotic beast Tide without obstruction. At the end of the path was a man in silver armor. Above the man's head was a moth that emitted light like a chandelier. As the moth flew, it emitted a faint dimensional fluctuation. In the eyes of the Sincere Caravan's members, Luoya, and the others, who were waiting for death, the silver-armored Lu Jia at the end of the path was no different from a divine soldier descending from heaven. End of this chapter. Chapter 1186. The hundreds of giant webs that appeared out of thin air were divine means that the Sincere Caravan members, Luoya, and the others had never seen before. Lu Jia walked unhurriedly on this path that no more crypt creatures dared to step on. More and more nets appeared out of thin air, as if they were weaving layers of gauze in the sky above the beast swarm. As the spider webs trembled, tens of thousands of dimensional lifeforms were firmly stuck to them. Even the Class 4 obsidian gargoyle that was fighting with the Class 4 gnome for control of the exotic beast Tide was stuck to the spider webs, unable to break free. Seeing this, Lin Yuan was rather shocked. He didn't expect Lu Jie to use such a method to deal with the exotic beast tide. The reason Lu Jie spared the lives of these underground lifeforms and didn't kill them all was obviously to increase Silver Flower's rations. Lu Jie's divine means of controlling the pinnacle class 2 exotic beast tide was due to those translucent and inconspicuous little spiders on the spider webs. The translucent spiders on the spider webs were probably a new type of insect-type carcinoma Fae that Lu Jie was controlling through the Insect Queen. While the others were still immersed in Lu Jie's divine means, Lin Yuan had already used true data. He checked the attributes of the insect-type carcinoma Fae that Lu Jie had contracted. Fae name, web glass spider, Fae species, arachnid species/jumping arachnid species, Fae grade, diamond, 10 out of 10, Fae type, insect, Fae quality, legend abilities frowny face body splitting decomposition, rupture the body and split the body's energy into several portions. Each portion of energy will split into small life forms that possess the main body's abilities and exclusive skills. As the number of split life forms increases, the individual's abilities will decrease. Web thread, the drawn-out threads will spontaneously absorb the energy in the air and turn into a web. They will also attract other spider webs and stick together. Hunting web feast, the spider webs will decompose into decomposition molds that have a powerful decomposition effect. Everything on the web will be decomposed and energy will be returned to each individual on the web. When the individual's energy reaches the specified energy multiple, they will spontaneously split into new individuals. Weakening thread, some creatures that have been specially cultivated with energy can spit out threads that have a weakening effect. Any target that comes into contact with the weakening effect will be weakened by the thread's ability. Weakening includes softening carapace, decreasing speed, itching, and other negative effects. Network battlefield, after the spider web dominates the sky, it will continue to produce a large number of spider webs to cover the ground. At the same time, the spider webs will secrete a large amount of mucus. When the target that is controlled by the weakening silk thread touches the mucus of the spider web, the effects of the weakening silk thread will double. The target that is not touched by the weakening silk thread will move faster when touching the mucus of the spider web. At the same time, the mucus of the spider web has healing effects. Sacrificial spider silk, when a split-off individual receives a fatal attack, the spider silk's energy can be sacrificed. Through the spider silk's energy, a large number of individuals can be created. The sacrificed spider silk will give a praise effect to all allies on the spider web, increasing the toughness of their shells. Exclusive skill frowny face geometric force bearing, the spider web's weave will automatically conform to geometric mechanics. As long as multiple spider webs are connected, they will be able to bear the force of a single spider web. When he saw Lu Jie's insect species tumor Fae, Lin Yuan immediately knew that Lu Jie's net domain glass spider had only executed its body decomposition and web abilities. It had not used any other abilities. The net domain glass spider had only displayed its control ability to cover a large battlefield. However, control ability wasn't the main ability of the net domain glass spider. There were plenty of insect species tumor Faes to choose from in the land of spirit suppression. Lu Jie had allowed the Insect Queen to control the net domain glass spider not because he had taken a fancy to its control ability. The net domain glass spider's true ability would only be displayed after it executed its platinum ability, network battlefield. The spider webs would form a battlefield suitable for insect species combat in the sky and on the ground. Lu Jie's Insect Queen alone could produce 5 types of insects, including the blade queen bee and other insect species tumor Faes that could produce individuals. Lu Jie could spread out many types of insects on the battlefield. On the battlefield, these insects could use the mucus on the spider webs to increase their speed and heal their injuries. A single insect's speed and recovery wouldn't have much of an effect. However, if every insect in the insect swarm could receive such a buff, the insect swarm's combat ability would increase by several folds. In addition, the weakening silk thread could weaken the enemy, and the sacrificial spider silk could increase the insect phase carapace defense. Lin Yuan found it hard to imagine how much Lu Jie's insect swarm would be enhanced in a positional battle. Furthermore, the net domain glass spider's body-splitting decomposition, network battlefield, and geometric force endurance could be used together. This allowed the spider webs to be instantly spread out on the battlefield. The instant setup of the battlefield meant that positional battle would no longer be Lu Jie's weakness in combat. The sacrificial spider silk and hunting web feast could also enhance the spider web's recovery ability. If it wasn't for Lin Yuan's innate talent not being compatible with insect species phase, if he allowed Morbius to spirit lock on the insect species tumor phase, the insect species tumor phase would only have one ability left. Lin Yuan wanted to nurture an insect species tumor phase that was suitable for him. Of course, there was a limit to how many insect species tumor phase Lu Jie could contract. Due to the chaotic intelligence of the tumor phase, it was basically impossible for them to comprehend willpower runes from nature. It was the same for the hidden sea lotus flower. However, the hidden sea lotus flower had encountered the source-type demon spirit's heart. The demon spirit's heart had allowed the hidden sea lotus flower to transform into the demon spirit's source-type silver flower. Silver flower, which was no longer a carcinoma fae, could freely evolve into a fantasy breed. This also meant that without the demon spirit's heart, Lu Jie's insect species tumor phase would only be able to reach Diamond X/Legend no matter how he nurtured them. However, this strength was sufficient. The combination of over a dozen insect species tumor phase allowed Lu Jie to face Emperor-class experts head-on. Lin Yuan felt that if he were to really fight with Lu Jie, he might not be able to defeat him. Lu Jie led the insect queen to hide in the insect swarm and commanded the insect swarm from the dark. Even if Lin Yuan used the Dark Crow Withering Strike in Princess Sacred Sword mode, it would still be useless. After all, the Dark Crow Withering Strike was not a large-scale sword skill and could not lock onto a target. After witnessing Lu Jie's strength again, Lin Yuan felt that he should put in more effort. Morbius' new Silver Spirit Lock phase had to be arranged as soon as possible. At that moment, Lu Jie, who was like a deity descending to the mortal world, walked step by step toward the youth who was hugging the white kitten under the Sincerity Chamber of Commerce's members and Luoya's gaze. Everyone saw the silver-armored youth kneeling on one knee and placing his hand on the left side of his chest. He said respectfully, "Young master, my apologies for being late and giving you a fright." Chapter 1187. Lin Yuan's eyes twitched wildly as he looked at Lu Jie, who was kneeling in front of him. What is Brother Lu doing? Could it be that Brother Lu is also a natural actor? That's right, the Divine Wood Federation's sense of hierarchy is much stronger than the Radiance Federation's. In the Radiance Federation, there was no need for those complicated etiquettes between the retainers, but they were essential in the Divine Wood Federation. Without these etiquettes, people would feel very out of place and would look down on them. The more obvious the etiquettes were, the more people would revere them on the Agro continent. On the contrary, if the relationship between the master and the retainer was too casual, it was easy to be recognized as a nouveau riche without any foundation. Lin Yuan thought that Lu Jie was acting to match the current scene, but it was not the case for Lu Jie at all. Lu Jie was currently wearing the Class 2 Creation Master's retainer crest that Lin Yuan had given him under the silver armor. Lu Jie's hand was caressing the position of the Class 2 Creation Master crest. This Class 2 Creation Master retainer crest was the proof of Lu Jie's redemption. It was also the place where Lu Jie's dream began. Lu Jie knew that Lin Yuan had always regarded him as a companion, a friend, and even a family member. However, in Lu Jie's heart, he would always be Lin Yuan's retainer knight. Now that Lu Jie thought about it, this seemed to be the first time he stood by Lin Yuan's side as a retainer knight in front of outsiders. Therefore, Lu Jie, who was kneeling on one knee, was so pious that even his breathing was a little heavy. The scene in front of Luoya and the Sincere Caravan's members' minds fiercely hit. Although Luoya had always guessed that Lin Yuan was a descendant of a hidden elite clan, she had never thought that Lin Yuan's retainer would be so powerful. After all, according to Lin Yuan, he had been separated from his retainer when facing the Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift. Even the Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift's Insect Tide could not deal with a retainer, let alone a Pinnacle Class 2 Underground Dimensional Lifeform Tide. The moment Lu Jia appeared, Luoya did not associate him with Lin Yuan's retainer at all. This was because Lu Jia looked too young. Compared to Lin Yuan, who had dozens of cuts on his clothes, he had such strength at the age of 24 or 25. The black-haired and black-eyed Lu Jia undoubtedly looked more like a member of a hidden elite clan. Luoya, who was a Class 1 creation master, couldn't see through Lu Jia's strength. However, this godlike man turned out to be Lin Yuan's retainer, who was standing beside him. How high is Lin Yuan's status? How powerful was the faction behind Lin Yuan? Could it be that Lin Yuan's hidden clan has a Class 4 creation master? Thinking of this, Roha didn't dare to continue imagining. In Luoya's opinion, a Class 3 clan with a Class 3 creation master was an unreachable existence. Luoya's 2-star family didn't have the qualifications to let Luoya face a 4-star family member, even if it was just a small fry of a 4-star family. Luoya originally had all kinds of fantasies about Lin Yuan. Even if Luoya had guessed that Lin Yuan was a member of the Deep Brahmin Federation's hidden wealthy clan, she had also thought of fighting for it. But now that he saw Lin Yuan's powerful retainer, he thought of Lin Yuan's unreachable identity. Ya's love at first sight slowly turned into longing. Luoya subconsciously knew that the gap between her and Lin Yuan's status was too big. Such a gap in status meant that it was impossible for the two of them to be together. Thinking of this, Luoya felt dejected. Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji also recovered from their state of shock. Subsequently, the two of them felt a sense of closeness to Lin Yuan from the bottom of their hearts. This sense of closeness originated from the joy of surviving a calamity. Be it the Deep Brahmin Federation, the Divine Wood Federation, or the Iron Hammer Federation, they had the habit of treating the master and retainer as one. Everything a retainer did was considered to be carrying out their master's will. Although Lu Jia had stopped the Pinnacle Class 2 exotic beast tide, everyone's gratitude was transferred to Lin Yuan because Lu Jia was Lin Yuan's retainer. Lu Jia bowed for half a minute before standing up. He took a side step to Lin Yuan's side, separating Luoya and Lin Yuan. Seeing this, Luoya subconsciously took a step to the side, distancing herself from Lu Jia. Even though the silver-armored man beside her didn't look at her, he was definitely not friendly to her. Luoya could feel this. Lin Yuan's retainer didn't even look at her. This made Luoya feel that the distance between her and Lin Yuan had widened. Suddenly, cheers rang out from the surroundings. Ah! God has saved us. Look, these underground creatures are all being controlled by the net in the sky. Oh my God! I'm not dead. This is great. Thank God. The Chingy caravan's members who had relatives all hugged each other tightly. Those who had relatives also hugged each other tightly. The feeling of surviving a calamity even caused tears to gush out from the corners of many people's eyes. These tears were wiped away by weather-beaten palms. The remaining salty tears in the palms seemed to be playing a dirge of life for the survivors after the calamity had ended. Feng Jiaji retracted his hand that was passing Lil Pi to Lin Yuan and kissed Lil Pi, who was blinking her big watery eyes. Perhaps because Feng Jiaji's stubble was too sharp, Lil Pi, who was smiling foolishly, was kissed so hard that she started crying. Feng Jiaji, who usually took care of Lil Pi like a pair of eyes, didn't care about Lil Pi at this moment. It's getting dark. Start the fire. I'll take out 2 silver rank Mongshan bulls. Tonight, we'll roast them to entertain our esteemed guests. Feng Jiaji's words caused the atmosphere to instantly become tense. It didn't look like it had just experienced a terrifying natural disaster. The sincere caravan's members looked at Lin Yuan and Lu Jia with sparkling eyes. However, none of them dared to come to Lin Yuan's side to thank him. Lin Yuan's natural and gentle temperament and Lu Jia's firm and cold temperament could only be nurtured by a major faction. This kind of temperament made the members of the Sincerity Caravan, who traveled all over the country to hold gatherings, shrink back. Upon hearing Feng Jiaji's words, Luoya, who was looking at Lin Yuan with a somewhat infatuated and complicated gaze, threw a bronze walnut on the ground. 110 kilograms of fruits suddenly appeared on the ground. Roja said. Since we're going to eat the whole roast cow, we can't do without these fruits. The beef is greasy. Take these fruits and wash them. Eat them with the roasted beef. The whole roast cow banquet at night didn't have any seasoning, just some salt and the fruits provided by Luoya. The taste was naturally not comparable to Lu Jie's. At that moment, many members of the Sincerity Caravan were dancing enthusiastically around the bonfire. In such an atmosphere, Lin Yuan and Lu Jie ate very happily. End of this chapter. $50,000 silver walnuts were indeed a lot, but the spatial energy contained in the higher-grade walnuts was obviously higher. Therefore, Lin Yuan asked Mr. Feng. Do you have gold-tier walnuts? When Mr. Feng heard Lin Yuan's words, he thought that Lin Yuan was dissatisfied with the rewards in front of him. Mr. Feng smiled bitterly and said, These 9 silver-tier walnuts are really all we have. The price of a storage walnut will be more than 100 times higher than a silver walnut. Even if I used all my belongings to buy gold walnuts, I wouldn't be able to buy a few. Gold walnuts are still consumables and will lose their effect after 1,000 times of storage. Only the legendary diamond rank storage walnut can remain undamaged no matter how many items are stored in it. We can't afford the gold walnuts, and the price of such resources is constant in the Divine Wood Federation. There is no profit even if we sell them. Upon hearing Mr. Feng's words, Lin Yuan knew that Mr. Feng was tactfully telling him no. Therefore, Lin Yuan changed the topic and asked, Then do you have a bronze walnut? Previously, Fu Di had taken out a bronze walnut, but Lin Yuan had only seen its appearance. Therefore, Lin Yuan could not be sure how much spatial energy the bronze walnut had. The reason why Lin Yuan wanted a gold or bronze walnut that was 1 grade lower than a silver walnut was because he wanted to compare its spatial energy with the silver walnuts. He wanted to compare the spatial energy within it with the spatial energy of the silver walnut. End of this chapter. Chapter 1189. Thus, he could infer how many diamond walnuts he needed to travel between the Divine Wood Federation and the Radiance Federation through the spatial tunnel. After all, given the Creation Master resources in Lin Yuan's hands, he could easily raise the diamond walnut tree. Upon hearing that Lin Yuan was looking for a bronze walnut, Mr. Feng hurriedly pointed to a specially marked walnut. Upon hearing that Lin Yuan was looking for a bronze walnut, Mr. Feng hurriedly pointed at a specially marked walnut and said, That's right. If you want to find a bronze walnut, you can take it from here. If you want to find a bronze walnut, you can take it from here. While dancing, Luoya kept looking at Lin Yuan. However, Luoya was dismayed to find that not long after she danced, the Sincere Caravan's old man brought his family to find Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was no longer looking in the direction of the bonfire, so Luoya was no longer in the mood to continue dancing. Moreover, there was a group of middle-aged men staring at her while clapping and cheering from time to time. These crooked-looking middle-aged men made Luoya feel uncomfortable. Thus, Luoya put on the purple cloak that she had been waving in her hand and walked toward the forest. As soon as she walked to Lin Yuan's side, she heard that Lin Yuan was looking for bronze and gold walnuts. Without saying anything, Luoya threw the only gold walnut and 2 bronze walnuts she had to Lin Yuan and said, I have bronze and gold walnuts here. I have both bronze and gold walnuts here. Lin Yuan hurriedly took the walnuts that Luoya threw over and nodded to thank her. If only bronze or gold walnuts were compared with silver walnuts, the value of the comparison was likely to be different. However, if he could compare the 3 walnuts at the same time, he could accurately calculate the spatial energy contained in a diamond walnut. After some exploration and calculation, Lin Yuan found that the bronze, silver, and gold walnuts all had about 10 times the spatial energy. After some probing and calculations, Lin Yuan found that the spatial energy between the bronze, silver, and gold walnuts had a difference of about 10 times. After some exploration and calculation, Lin Yuan found that the spatial energy between the bronze, silver, and gold walnuts was about 10 times different. In other words, he only needed 50 diamond walnuts to travel between the Divine Wood Federation and the Radiance Federation. Lin Yuan really hoped that a fei like the storage walnut tree would be able to produce more fruits at a time. Of course, he also had a way to increase the walnut tree's fruit capacity. Some specific swamp soil could solve his problem. After checking, Lin Yuan returned the gold walnuts and the 2 bronze walnuts that Luoya had thrown at him. After that, he handed the first silver walnut back to Mr. Feng and said, "The things in your 9 walnuts are useless to me. You can keep them for yourselves." Lin Yuan thought for a moment and said, "That's great. That's great. Empty the silver walnut later and give me both the silver and bronze walnuts. It's best if you can also collect the walnuts of the other people in the caravan. Tomorrow morning, I will return the walnuts filled with new materials to you. The materials in these walnuts will be the capital for the Qingyi business caravan's future development. Leave me your phone number. I will call you when I need any materials in the future." Mr. Feng was very excited. Lin Yuan's words let Mr. Feng know that the Qingyi business caravan's opportunity had come. When Feng Jiaji went to collect the walnuts of the other people in the caravan, he did not say a reason at all. When everyone heard that it was for Lin Yuan, they offered their walnuts without another word. Lin Yuan saw all of this. Lin Yuan's original plan was to use the Qingyi business caravan as a catalyst to contact the Chamber of Commerce behind it. Thus, they could reach a cooperation. But now that he was facing this righteous team, Lin Yuan intended to give the Qingyi business caravan a chance. If the Qingyi business caravan could use this opportunity to rise, the value it could create for Lin Yuan would definitely be much greater than the Chamber of Commerce behind it. This was because the Qingyi business caravan's captain, Mr. Feng, and the other members of the caravan were willing to give him their many years of hard work. Naturally, they would not hide their intentions from him in the future cooperation. End of this chapter. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.